thinking about Curtis, who had been dormant for months. It seems more like the hungry wolf staring at its prey. The python patted its belly. Satisfied, he played a bag. Curtis, who had been dormant for several months. It seems more like the hungry wolf staring at its prey. So Bai Qingqing stretched out her hand and took it over. Curtis stretched a little. Transfiguration into the form of a giant python. The wild wolf in front saw this terrifying, murderous aura. I was taken aback. Before he could react, he was clicked. Instantly severed the bones. A life. Parker's side is also killing Zhengwang. The land was full of wolves lost. The rest of the wolves saw the scene. How dare you continue to attack? They all turned and fled. Parker snorted disdainfully. I haven't practiced it yet. Curtis opened his bloody mouth. Swallowed an entire wolf in one bite. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but sigh. Curtis must be starving. Then he stepped forward. Ask how Parker's iron claws are used. Parker raised his hand and retracted the iron claw. It's not bad to use. It's just too sharp. Not used for hunting. However, it can definitely be used to fight with orcs. Vincent asked him, iron claws can be used. The way of making is passed on to the tribe. Parker doesn't care about knocking down casually. But I don't think this paw is flexible enough. And to improve, you can wait until I'm better and then teach them. Bai Qingqing looked at the two of them who were so harmonious. I couldn't help but smile. It's a family that works together, yes. Turning his head to the side, Curtis, who has already eaten a few wild wolves, satisfied with a full burp. Bai Qingqing looked at the remaining wild wolves. I don't know how to bring it back. I saw Vincent cover his ears. Remind him to cover Anne's ears as well. Then there was a sound, the roar of the quartet. The trees around me shook. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but sigh. It's still super scary to feel at such a close distance. When I was worried about weather, Anin would be scared. But he just stared at him and froze. Nothing else isn't. Bai Qingqing was relieved. It turned out that Vincent was informing the people of the tribe. Then they will come and drag away the wolves. No food is wasted. Bai Qingqing smiled and said that this is fine. When I first came, Parker killed a lot of wolves and didn't catch me. Now I feel like a pity. Parker thought Qingqing was blaming himself. Hurriedly stepped forward and explained that we were enthusiastic at that time. There is no shortage of food for everyone. If you call them, they won't come. And the corpse will not disappear out of thin air. There will be other beasts to eat. Bai Qingqing saw that he had a serious face. Sideways explained, I'm just talking about it. Nothing else. That's when Parker was relieved. Silly laugh. The man was glad. Having this skinny is the best magnetism. That's when Parker was relieved. Silly laughed. In the blink of an eye, they had been out for a long time. An animal in his arms began to cry. Bai Qingqing hurriedly reassured, unfastened his collar, and fed it in. The howling cold wind followed the unfastened collar, poured into the body. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but shudder, shivering with cold. Curtis saw this, immediately turned into a human form, and said, go back. It's cold outside. Bai Qingqing was a little reluctant when she heard that she wanted to go back by herself, because there are a lot of leaves growing on the outside. Maybe there's something to eat. I wanted to find out. Parker immediately patted his chest. When it comes to food, leave it to me. You take Qingqing back first. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to be obedient. I thought it would be hard to come out once. I didn't expect to have time for the next doll yet. I'm going back again. After a while, a group of people returned to the lost treasure. Bai Qingqing hurriedly wrapped Anin in the quilt. Give him a warm meal first. Curtis picked up the quilt and covered Qingqing. Vincent opened the curtain first and said, I'll go live. Bai Qingqing turned back and smiled at him. Good? Curtis, who was on the side, suddenly noticed something. Puzzled, he leaned forward. I saw him pick up Bai Qingqing's doll. His eyes lit up. What is it? See us as such. Bai Qingqing nodded. They said they burned it with mud from the bottom of the puddle. It's called porcelain. There are also a lot of porcelain bowls and the like at home. Curtis smiled happily, touching it repeatedly. I can't put down the puppet in my hand. Well done. Much like you, Bai Qingqing pouted in displeasure. The one you have in your hand is made by Parker. Curtis nodded. But it's still the same love that can't be put down. Bai Qingqing saw that he liked Parker so much. Unhappily got into the quilt. Dr. Qingqing said, "You did it by me." Curtis picked up his words. I was stunned for a moment. Then he carefully held him in the palm of his hand. I put it on my cheek and said it's good too. The fruit is strict and solid. Bai Qingqing didn't hear this. He hid under the covers and thought unhappily. Do you do it yourself? It's not as good as Parker's. I've done it in a super detailed way. Parker did himself well. The cubs were a mess. After drying, it was refined to be presentable. By this time, Vincent had already rekindled the fire. The fire grew more and more intense. Bai Qingqing felt the temperature coming from the ground. It warmed up a lot. It's really hard, Vincent. But it seems to be getting hotter and hotter. He broke out in a hot sweat. I thought I would go out now. Wouldn't it be very shameless? Curtis, on the side, watched the heat coming out. Curious about what it is, so he stuck out his tail and touched it. But when his tail was next to the ground, but it sent out a sizzle, the sound of barbecue. Bai Qingqing listened, hurriedly got out of the quilt, asked what sound. Is it burned? Show me what's hot. Strict is not serious. He immediately lifted Curtis's tail. Carefully checked, a look of concern. Curtis looked at his partner, who cared so much about him. I'm glad I met him. I saw him stretch out his long arm, took Bai Qingqing into his arms. The temperature doesn't hurt me. The girl had just been frightened. That's why he was aggrieved and held the quilt in his mouth. I saw her stretch out her long arms. He took Qingqing into his arms. Saying this, the temperature doesn't hurt me. Bai Qingqing was relieved and just scared her. It's okay. Then see Vincent. I brought in the last Kim necklace. She asked curiously. How did this chain get it back? Curtis, come and see. This Vincent found from a great depth. It's hard. You're looking at the hole in the floor. It was that stone that made it. Later I put it under my pillow. Nightmares every day. But as soon as you take it, you don't dream. 80% is the problem of this stone. Vincent also felt that this stone was not simple. That's why I showed it to Curtis. He had listened to what Qingqing had said. He also put the stone under his pillow, but it didn't work. Curtis looked carefully for a moment. Suddenly a shogi was squeezed. Bai Qingqing was taken aback when she saw this. Hurriedly stepped forward to stop Curtis. Don't crush him. So I checked it out carefully. Luckily, it didn't break. I thought Curtis's strength was too great. Just looking at it, it felt like the Kim family was about to collapse. Vincent's eyes lit up, raised his hand, and said, It is suspected that this is the same substance as gold and green crystal, because they're all so hard. Bai Qingqing heard that it was related to transparent crystal green crystal. Does that mean you can also eat one? Give it a try. Then he shook his head again. I dispelled the thought I had just now, but this is not going to work. Just a few of them, or don't use them. Wait until you find more spirit. You can feed it to the beast to test the effect. Curtis touched his head dotingly. Say whatever you want. You've dreamed about something before. Bai Qingqing smiled. Start drawing. Seiki described his previous dream to Curtis. Half an hour after love, Bai Qingqing finally finished his dream. Vincent and Curtis listened, but they looked at each other and nodded. Seems to understand something. Bai Qingqing is a question mark on her face. I wondered what they were talking about. Love that I don't understand. But Vincent said that the spar and the crystal were transparent. Green crystal may be a substance, and crystal translucent represents power. Green crystal represents longevity. So what will this octahedral gold ornament represent? He suddenly remembered. But it should represent memory. Vincent listened, said he didn't dream about anything. Maybe Qingqing's dream was just a coincidence. But Bai Qingqing doesn't think so. So he decided to sleep again today. Because he dreamed of a female. Maybe this memory is only valid for females. The two of them listened, suddenly shouted in unison. Bai Qingqing's frightened hair stood up, turned around, and said aggrievedly with the quilt in his mouth, "Why are you yelling so loudly?" "It scared me." "It's a clingy little leopard." He couldn't help but rub it on the girl's little face. Bai Qingqing thought about it carefully. Both green essence and permeable essence can be directly applied in the human body, but those are all appendages of living beings. Memory is the foundation of life. If this memory is like a gold filter or a filter, it worked on people. It may represent the use of the body to be plundered. Come to think of this, he suddenly tensed. I thought, no, I'll have to try again. So he put the gold ornament under his pillow again. Turning around, he smiled at the two of them. I don't eat him. Just press him under the pillow. There won't be a problem. Just give it a try. Vincent, however, stepped forward and snatched the gold ornament. Said no. It's too risky. I'll take the necklace upstairs anyway. And it is vulnerable. The female is only 3 months old. Life is even more fragile. If this thing is really the condensation of a person's memory, that's too dangerous for an inn. Bai Qingqing still wanted to insist. But as soon as I heard it, it was dangerous for an inn. Immediately compromised. Then another idea came to mind. Smiled and said, then you go. Let me go upstairs and sleep at night. Actually, I think the power of this memory is very weak. It doesn't have any effect on my mind. And it doesn't seem to react during the day. And it is sleeping well now. Besides, and it was only 7 days old. It didn't affect him much either. What's more, I'm already an adult. There will be no problem. Curtis, who was on the side, sighed helplessly. He knows it well. Don't let Qingqing play enough. He won't give up. So Vincent had no choice but to sigh and say that it was okay. The screen turns, came to the outside of the tribe. Parker was showing off his new hairstyle. The orcs on the side don't understand this fashion. There was a lot of talk about it. Look at the bald leopard over there. Parker was unaware. Also struck a pose proudly. Say to the cubs, look. Father is not particularly majestic now. But I don't want the leopard cubs next to me to feel too ashamed. They all turned away. Angry, he stomped his feet and yelled at the stinky cubs. Always so disobedient. What's wrong with complimenting me? The leopards ran all the way back to the castle. Bai Qingqing saw them return. Asked Parker why he didn't come back with him. I saw the leopards with a bitter face. He looked behind him. Bai Qingqing stepped forward suspiciously. I wonder if Parker is causing trouble again. He poked his head out and looked back. I saw Parker walking triumphantly forward. The orcs behind him were one after another. Cast a strange look at him. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but snicker twice. Thinking to myself about this stupid leopard. Haven't you noticed that everyone is looking at him? That's when Parker noticed Qingqing's little head sticking out. Immediately, Qingqing ran towards him. Bai Qingqing also beckoned to him. Hurry up and come back. Shame is all thrown home. But the wind is too strong. Parker didn't hear what he was saying. But he thought to himself, I must have missed myself so much. So he immediately quickened the pace of his feet. Jumped forward and hugged Qingqing. Rubbed it on his little face. Look at it. The girl actually gave birth to a bunch of scorpion eggs. Parker jumped forward and hugged Crystal. Rubbed it on her little face. Bai Qingqing thought to herself, it's good that this stupid leopard didn't notice the criticism of others. so as not to add to the troubles. Seeing that he was still wearing iron claws, Bai Qingqing persuaded him to take it off, so as not to be uncomfortable. Parker actually wanted to take it down a long time ago. It's just that the iron claw sometimes gets stuck. It's hard to put on, so I just wore it all the time. So Bai Qingqing stretched out her hand. It took a lot of gold to take him down. It seems to be really stuck. I heard Parker say that he still needs to improve the iron claw. I'm going to keep this iron claw as a souvenir. Parker nodded in agreement. Then he said, I'm going to make your dinner. The leaves want to be eaten fried or boiled. Bai Qingqing fanned and smiled. How convenient for you to do. Parker happily went to cook. He couldn't help but feel small-hearted. The same is a vegetable, and the master called him a leaf. Why do you always feel weird eating? Gradually, night fell. Bai Qingqing said to Parker, I will sleep upstairs today, and it will be handed over to you. Parker listened, immediately stepped forward and pulled Qingqing so cold at night. There is no Kong upstairs. Don't go up. Bai Qingqing reached out and shook his big palm. I'll just go up and sleep all night. I'll come down tomorrow. I hope that it doesn't get up today. Parker sighed helplessly, okay. Turning to Vincent, he said, Give me the quilt in your hand. Vincent was puzzled. Aren't you still holding it in? Saw Parker immediately snatch the quilt and filial piety. Your daughter will be left to your own care. Vincent looked at the well-behaved and in his arms. He nodded happily. The three of them went upstairs. Bai Qingqing just entered the house. I felt a chill coming over my face. So Parker decided to warm up the bed first. After a while, Bai Qingqing came to the warm bed. Parker held him in his arms. Look at his pleasing and relaxed appearance. So I advised him to go to bed early. So Bai Qingqing obediently closed her eyes. After a while, he fell into a deep sleep. Curtis was coiled up next to the bed and slept together. It didn't take long. Bai Qingqing, who had fallen asleep, began to pant nervously. The whole person also trembled slightly uncomfortably. Curtis and Parker immediately became alarmed. I thought to myself, Qingqing, this feeling is another nightmare. They carefully guarded Qingqing's side. If you see that he can't stand it, he was ready to wake him up immediately. And at this time, Bai Qingqing, sure enough, I came to the dream before. But what he saw this time was, Chris is in labor. Bai Qingqing looked at her in surprise. Dense crab eggs. I couldn't help but sigh, oh my God. Giving birth to so many crab beasts is more powerful than snake beasts. This woman killed her own child. And how to face the anger of the child's father. Just when Bai Qingqing was still amazed, I heard the sound of hurried footsteps. He turned his head to look behind him. Something is coming. I saw Sheng Zhajiali suddenly appear in front of him. Patient Chris with a gleeful face. Thank you for your hard work. The man reached out and wiped the beads of sweat from his forehead. Bai Qingqing saw that he had the luck of being a father on his face. Lung Hongdao took these things away from me. Sheng Zhajiali was originally a happy face. Suddenly, there was more sorrow. He said in a sad tone, if you want to be angry, you can be angry with me. This is your cub. Don't be angry with them. Chris turned his head. Unceremoniously, said their father. It's a rootless beast. They will be born rootless. It's better to be dead. Sheng Zagari listened. His hand slammed into the stone bed. Shout, if you don't like it, kill them. Chris thought he was going to whip himself again. Frightened, he turned around and protected his head. The body couldn't help but tremble. Tears also fell. Sheng Zhajiali saw him like this. Immediately withdrew his hand, sighing helplessly. Turning around, he said, you lie down and rest first. I'm going to get you some food. Chris saw him go. That's when I gradually fell in love. Said with hatred on his face, the Sheng family beauties. Apparently you still love me. but we'll never go back to the way we used to be. You have earned the love of your partner, but lost to his own conceit. Your rank is already above the king. There is absolute conceded capital, but feelings are not something that can be exchanged for these things. Bai Qingqing listened. Suddenly, I felt pitiful. This scorpion beast was originally the pride of the sky. A head fell into a pitiful worm. He was thinking about it, but he saw Chris pick up a stone beside him, lift him up in the air, punch it down. Bai Qingqing was directly stunned by this scene, immediately pounced on him to stop him. And at this time, Chris turned around and shouted, "Why not?" Bai Qingqing was taken aback. I wondered if he could see himself, but I can't do that much for the time being. He lunged forward and just wanted to stop Chris, but he pounced directly. Just listen to Chris. They shouldn't have spoken out in the first place. I want to destroy everything that I don't leave behind. That's when it happened. Just listen to the sound of cooking. It was the sound of a stone basin falling to the ground. Sheng Zhejiali looked at the scene in front of her, incredulously rushed forward and yelled at Chris. "Do you know what you're doing?" He stepped forward and pushed his anger away. "These are our children. They're all ruined by you." His hands trembled, unable to believe what he saw. Hands slammed the city bed. After several collapses, the man had just lost his child. The next second, I lost my lover again. Sheng Zagari's hands slammed into the city bed. After several collapses, he turned around and yelled that these were our children. "You're not done yet." But to the horror of the discovery, Chris fell on the stone. The blood on the forehead stained a large area red. Sheng Zhejiali couldn't care about anything else. Hurriedly rushed forward and hugged him in his arms, calling for Chris over and over again. I couldn't help but tremble. Bai Qingqing looked at the scene in front of her. It's all so unknowable. I thought to myself, they are all so pitiful. I thought about it again. How could Chris have seen himself just now? Isn't that a memory? But I saw that the picture in front of me suddenly shattered. Bai Qingqing hadn't had time to think about it yet, and the whole man went backwards. It's like traveling back in time. After a while, it was back to reality. He snapped his eyes open, gasping for air. Parker and Curtis see this, hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Qingqing, you're finally awake." Parker took him in his arms in distress. His face was full of nervousness and worry. Bai Qingqing only felt some pain in her head. I didn't expect it to dawn so soon, but I was still very tired. It felt like I hadn't slept long. Parker said, "You're really scaring me. I watched you fall asleep and your face turned white. I threw that necklace out a long time ago, but I still can't wake you up." Bai Qingqing looked surprised when she heard this. Hurriedly lifted the pillow and looked for it. There was indeed no trace of the necklace. Parker told him he had lost it for a while. Curdy Four Arrows Crystal cares so much about the necklace. He stepped forward and touched his head. The comfort necklace was lost before dawn. "Did you have terrible dreams?" Bai Qingqing nodded immediately. "In my dreams, I was really scared out of my mind. I thought I would dream all along. Think of it as a memory, a death." But Chris could see himself. Proof that this memory is still conscious. Where is this memory? It's a human soul. If only this soul was haunted by ghosts. Wrap yourself in words. That would be terrible. Come to think of this. He couldn't help but tremble. Curtis saw this. Asked with concern, "Are you cold?" Parker also grabbed Qingqing's small hand. "Why are your hands so cold?" "No, I can't stay here any longer." So the two hurriedly wrapped Qingqing into zongzi, hurriedly hugged the downstairs room to the fire. Vincent saw the crowd come down. He stepped forward and asked, "I see the necklace you left behind. How is the situation? What exactly is a baby?" Made the three people in front of him look so fond of it. Vincent saw the crowd come down. He stepped forward and asked, I see the necklace you left behind. How is the situation? Parker shook his head. Qingqing was frightened. Haven't moved yet, let's say. Then he carried Qingqing to the bed. It was indeed a lot warmer downstairs. And then on the side also began to stretch. The first thing I did when I woke up was, of course, crying and looking for food. Don't forget to stretch out your chubby little hand and beg for a hug. Vincent hurriedly took him in his arms and comforted him. I saw that he was wet. I was going to change the animal skin mat before feeding him. Parker immediately found a clean hide. Wrap and in. Feed him first. No noise all night. It seems that it was still very well behaved last night. All three stepped forward, looked at the wrapped and in with relief. What a good girl. After a while, Curtis asked Qingqing with a tilted head, "Why don't you tell us about last night's dream?" So Bai Qingqing sighed slightly. Begin to recount last night's dream. Everyone who came to listen was also nervous. I understand the gravity of the state of the world. Parker immediately got up and said, "I'm going to smash the necklace." Bai Qingqing hurriedly gave birth to stop it, which was also a soul. You smash people for no reason. There are many wrong people. Let's just throw it back where we picked it up. Vincent nodded. He also didn't think there was a need to smash it. Let's put it up first. Maybe in the future. Bai Qingqing smiled after hearing this. What can this thing be used for? Is there an enemy attack? Let go of the past to disturb others. And that's only useful for females. Vincent touched his head, or decided to take the necklace with me first. Put it in a safe place and talk about it later. Bai Qingqing nodded obediently. I promised that time would pass slowly. In a blink of an eye, spring has arrived. The last grain of ice on the ground also melted. Plants also change day by day. A few days, and the world turned from yellow to green. Now is a good time to grow wheat. Parker and Vincent. I was also going to go down to the ground and plant the wheat first. Wheat planted in heat last year. It doesn't seem to be thoroughly dried. There are some worms, but they pick some of the sprouts and plant them. It should be enough. Bai Qingqing heard that she was going to plant wheat. Immediately excited, I'm going too. Parker looked at the sky. It feels like it's going to rain today. Let Qingqing go next time. But Bai Qingqing again. I hope to miss out on such a fun opportunity. Hurriedly leaned over and sprinkled a coquettish Parker. Are you going to take me with you? I'm really suffocating to death when I'm home alone. It's not good. Parker pinched his little face. I was afraid that he would get sick, so I still firmly said no. Bai Qingqing searched for the little snake alone, experienced wind and rain on the way. Parker pinched Qingqing's little face. He was afraid that he would get sick in the rain, so I still don't agree with him going out to plant wheat together. Curtis stepped forward as well. Roll up the wheat seeds on the ground with your tail. Turning back to Parker, he said, let's go. Seeing Curtis, he was going out with him. Bai Qingqing was very surprised. Curtis said he could go out and plant faster. And the current climate is also very suitable for him to travel. So Bai Qingqing had to ask aggrievedly, what about me? Will it really rain later? Sword Curtis nodded affirmatively. Bai Qingqing immediately panicked. Then I'm the only one left at home. Vincent hurriedly comforted. The three of us were able to finish it in no time. We are with you. We'll bring you tender grass to eat when we come back. Bai Qingqing heard that she was eating grass. I couldn't help but have black lines on my face. Please, ask for the wild vegetables. Thank you. Vincent scratched his head in embarrassment. Hurriedly changed his words. Bring you wild vegetables back. In this way, the three of them said goodbye to Qingqing, and they set off together. Bai Qingqing stayed at home to play with the leopards. He kicked the lion on the ground without jumping to vent his anger. The leopard on the side saw this, stepped forward and grabbed the hem of my mother's skirt. Want to play with him? The other leopards also gathered around. Bai Qingqing hurriedly squatted down to stop him from scratching. Mom's clothes were all dirty, but the leopards were unmoved. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to lift them away with her hands. Now it's grown up. Are you all mother's fancy earwind? He couldn't help but think to himself. The child is really getting naughty the older he gets. Especially the boys here are strong. It's only been more than a year old, and I can't be cured. It's infuriating. He lifted the soiled hem of his skirt and thought about it. The clothes are dirty anyway. Then let's just go out and play. Tell us that we're going to go out and play. Suddenly, his eyes glowed with gold. Excited, Bai Qingqing decided to take them to see the little snake. Just enough to put. I gave him the hides that I had secretly made for the little snake. Hope to find him. I also have to bring it in again. When all is ready, the group set off happily. But it didn't take long for it to start raining. The rain is getting heavier and heavier. Bai Qingqing looked at the banana leaves on the side. It can be used to keep out the rain. And he reached out to pick it. Unexpectedly. Skinny plants are so tough and sharp. The life of the palm brush was scratched. Bai Qingqing hurriedly retracted her hand. I didn't expect the leaves to look emerald green and soft. It looks as tough as cowhide. The third child saw this, stepped forward and licked his mother's wound in distress. If the basileism all look like this, are you still afraid of snakes? The leopard cub stepped forward and licked his mother's wound in distress. Bai Qingqing hurriedly comforted her mother and said that she was fine. It's raining heavily. You guys are fast. Go to the cave and hide first. Mom came then, but the leopards shook their heads firmly. I want to be by my mother's side. Bai Qingqing saw that they were so determined. I had to sigh, promised them to follow. He pulled out the scales of Curtis that he had with him. Scratch off the plant and leaves. This is the addiction for an inn. At this moment, Bai Qingqing, who was embarrassed, couldn't help but think, OMG, I really regret that I came out and my waist was about to break. I also saw several small wild snakes on the way. There is no need for ferocious beasts. A few small poisons alone can kill you. It seems that next time I will have to travel with my partner. It's safer. After running for a long time, breathless, he finally made it to the cave. I just feel like the bones in my body are about to fall apart. But fortunately, nothing happened to an inn. I don't know if the little snake is in the cave or not. Bai Qingqing shouted loudly to the little snake inward. But I didn't hear back for a long time. And he commanded the leopard, let's go to the inside of the cave and look for it. See if the little snake is inside. He also followed behind the leopard cub, constantly calling the little snake. I've been looking for a long time. There is still no sign of the baby snake. It seems that he is really gone. Bai Qingqing shivered with cold. I thought it would be better to warm up and keep warm first. He rubbed his cold little hands. Tell the tyrants to find some firewood. The tyrants also raised their hands figuratively, a received expression. Then he quickly brought a pile of dry firewood. Bai Qingqing put down the package on her shoulder. When the fire was taken out of it, I thought I had to get the fire up quickly. It was too cold, but unexpectedly. I haven't had time to light the fire yet. The flint and steel were in it, unintentionally crying and slapping off. Bai Qingqing didn't care about picking up flints. Coax and in his arms first. A look of scrambled hands. Thought, why should I have nothing to do for myself? Obviously, it can be very at home. Take care of an inn and comfortably. It's all their own fault. He hurriedly untied his clothes, thinking that Anin should be hungry. He hurriedly fed him. Seeing that Anin didn't cry anymore, he breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, I heard the leopards at the door let out a roar. He looked up suspiciously and asked what was wrong. Could it be that there is a beast? I saw only leopards. The boys kept barking into the grass on the other side. There was a rustling sound in the grass. Not a while, the big red python appeared in everyone's eyes. Before that, he immediately transformed into a young and Hanzolmaman. The little snake looked at the entrance of the cave suspiciously. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stretched out her hand to greet him, and the little snake was greeted. "I finally see you." The little snake was stunned. He couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. I wondered if Xiao Bai would really come to see me. Bai Qingqing saw that the little snake did not react for a long time. "I'm worried that I've mistaken the snake. If it's another snake beast, that's bad." At this time, the little snake finally reacted. Happily waved his hand at Qingqing. Walked towards the cave. The boy mistakenly ate a fruit that grows quickly. He grew as big as his mother. The little snake waved happily at Qingqing. Walked towards the cave. Bai Qingqing hurriedly put the group of animal skins in her hand. "Hand it over. Call the little snake to give it a try." I thought of myself again, Han Kiri Jean. Parker sent two to the little snake. I asked him if he had received it. The little snake showed a surprised expression. After thinking about it, he said that he saw Bai Jing. Jingying is untying it for an Anne's jacket collar. It was a little awkward. Immediately urge you to take it quickly. Mom's hands were sore. After hearing this, the little snake hurriedly reached out and took it, only to find that Jingjing actually had a wound on her hand. He immediately grabbed his little hand. "Worried? Are you hurt?" Bai Jingjing was pulled and stung. Hurriedly told the little snake to let go quickly. "You're pinching me." The leopards also thought their mother was being bullied. Scolding at the little snake is a roar. The little snake turned and smiled wickedly at the leopards. Bai Jingjing hurriedly persuaded the cub not to make trouble. "Go and gather firewood." The leopards also know that they are no match for the little snake. In the end, I had to shrink back aggrievedly. I went outside the cave to collect firewood. Bai Jingjing raised her palm and looked at it. That's what it just was. The wound cracked. The little snake blew gently for him. So I told Jingjing to wait. "Go and pick herbs for him yourself." I didn't expect him to know herbs at such a small distance. I thought that the little snake was only 2 years old. He was not a genius baby. The little snake seemed to see through his thoughts. He explained that he had the memory of his father's inheritance. Fathers will, and they will. So he asked Jingjing to wait here. "I'll be back soon." Bai Jingjing smiled and waved her hand at him. Thinking about Curtis, I did tell myself that there is a memory inheritance ceremony. But the little snake understands these things at such a young age. I was a little surprised, and he looked aside. The tyrants who came in with firewood in their mouths with a resentful face. Only then did Bai Jingjing notice their emotions. I thought I must have yelled at them just now. They must have been wronged. So he persuaded them not to bite again. Firewood is enough. But the leopards still have a bitter face. Turn around and get ready to step aside. Bai Jingjing looked at their unhappy little faces. I thought to myself, it seems that the leopards have really wronged themselves. You have to do something you need to do. Thereupon, he laid the well-fed beast aside. Arrange your clothes on leather mats. Pretending to be puzzled, he asked, "Do you know how to light a fire?" "Mom won't do anything." Bai Jingjing has finally returned to modern times. He also brought Curtis and the rest of his companions. Bai Jingjing pretended to be puzzled and asked, "Do you know how to light a fire?" "Mom won't do anything." Hugs listen, immediately excited. Plop to Bai Jingjing's feet. Woo Woo whining taught her mother how to use flint and steel. Bai Jingjing smiled awkwardly. I thought I didn't understand a word. But it's right. So he reached out and rubbed the little head of the hug boy. Nodding his head, Mom knows. It's to take 2 stones and collide. Right? Cubs are so smart. Then he took out 2 pieces of flint and steel, constantly colliding with each other. But there was no spark at all. It should be that the stone is damp. I fought for a long time. Bai Jingjing spread her hands helplessly. It's so hard to complain. I thought I'd better forget it. Let's wait for the little snake to come back and fight again. The leopard stepped forward and rubbed their mother's little hand. Comforted by Qingqing. Touched his little head, cub behaved. Later, brother snake will come back. Don't fight. The leopard listened. Don't look away if you're displeased. Snorted. Unexpectedly, Qingqing reached out and hugged him. Bai Qingqing hugged him in her lap. Said, you 3 fight snakes. One brother. How unfair. Are you embarrassed to bully your brother? And you guys fight. It's easy to hurt mom and sister. The leopards heard the same thing. Only then did he wag his tail happily. Nod yes. Sure enough, the little boy loves face. It's super coaxing. Not for a while. The little snake came back with herbs and water. Gently wash Qingqing's little hands clean. There was no bloodshed anymore. Bai Qingqing took back the washed hands. Smiled and teased that mom was fine. You'll be healed when you come back later. The weather was too cold. You put your clothes on and keep warm. The little snake nodded. I'm also looking forward to wearing a leather dress made by my mother. But when he took it in his hand and began to wear it, I realized that I didn't know how to wear it. It's still stuck in the herd of animal skins. The leopards see this. They all fell to the ground laughing on all fours. The tears are coming out. The little snake saw this. His face darkened. I thought that Xiao Bai was still here. How dare these leopards laugh at me? Xiao Bai must be laughing at me. Saw Bai Qingqing step forward. Gently help him untie the animal skin skirt. Don't be in a hurry. That's not how the animal skin skirt is worn. Mommy is here to help you. The little snake looked at her mother. There was not the slightest hint of ridicule in his smile. There is only endless tenderness. He couldn't help but blush slightly. Bai Qingqing rearranged the group of animal skins. Let him put his feet, oh no. Put the tail in. In the end, the little snake put on the animal skin skirt very smoothly. He touched it again and again with delight. Love. The leopards also turned from ridicule to envy. I thought to myself that I had to transform sooner. It's good to wear clothes made by your mother. The little snake then came to the herb. Tell Qingqing to reach over and give him some herbs. Bai Qingqing obediently stretched out her hand. Seeing the little snake so careful and focused, thoughts couldn't help but wander. I thought about such a big son. Is it really self-born? I'm not even 19 years old now. If you hadn't come here, it's time for my freshman year now. No matter how deranged, it is impossible to have children. It is even more impossible for such a big son to emerge. Look at him like this. It's more like his brother. The boy had just been burned by the fire, is begging for comfort with an aggrieved face. Bai Qingqing looked at the appearance of the little snake. I think he's more like his brother. See the little snake carefully crush the herbs. Applied to Qingqing's hands. He gritted his teeth in pain. Small snake side smear. This herb is a little painful, but it works well. When I'm hurt, I'm going to roll around in this plant. Bai Qingqing only felt the pain in her palm. With the increase in herbs, it becomes more and more intense. I couldn't help but tremble and let out a cry of pain. The little snake saw him like this. Does it hurt to tense up immediately? It's all my fault that I should have used gentle unloading of the plant. I'll wash it off for you. Let's talk about it. He took Qingqing's little hand and prepared to wash it off with water. Bai Qingqing hurriedly withdrew her hand and said no need. As long as it works, I can bear this pain, and it doesn't seem to hurt very much now. The little snake hesitated. Only half convinced agreed to Bai Qingqing, and asked him to help his business get on fire. It's a little cold. The little snake hurriedly agreed. He turned around and picked up the flint. Bai Qingqing said very apologetically, I'm sorry. Mom is really useless. I have to ask for your help. The little snake doesn't think so. As long as it can make Xiao Bai happy. Willing to do whatever you want. Bai Qingqing smiled with relief after hearing this. I thought to myself, for my age, there was such a dutiful son. It's a good fate. But I heard 2 clicks. The little snake broke the flint into several pieces with a single rub. See this scene? Bai Qingqing was speechless for a moment. I couldn't help but shout in my heart, it's not this kind of laughter. If you go on like this, it will be completely scrapped when you start the fire. I don't want to freeze to death here. I heard another click. A cloud of sparks popped up from the time of the fire. The firewood ignited in an instant. The little snake scratched his head in embarrassment. He said that he was also the first time to make a fire. It's a little rusty. Is this still in the memory of inheritance? After hearing this, Bai Qingqing spread her hands helplessly. On racial fouls. It's got to be you. The little snake axe went down and blew it towards the firewood. But unexpectedly, the fire grew stronger. The little snake's face was burned by the flames. Immediately stepped back, covering his cheek with his hand. Bai Qingqing was also frightened. Hurriedly stepped forward and asked the little snake, "Are you okay? Let Mom see where the burn is." Baby snakes belong to cold-blooded animals. The most feared thing is fire? It looked at Qingqing aggrievedly. Bai Qingqing immediately pulled him up, said, "You bear with it first. I'll give you a compress with ice water." With that, he brought water in his hand, gently applied it to the little snake's face, and asked if it still hurts. The little snake looked at Xiao Bai, who treated him so gently, still showing an aggrieved expression. "It still hurts to come back." This girl, he gave birth to a son about the same age as himself. The point is that he is also handsome and filial. The little snake still showed an aggrieved expression, said that he still hurts. Bai Qingqing was even more worried. "I'm worried that the little snake won't be burned directly." He hurriedly reached out and touched it. "It looks like it's fine." Saw that the little snake couldn't help but snicker twice. Only then did Bai Qingqing understand that she had been deceived. Raised his hand and knocked on his head, "Filial piety, little liar." The two frolicked for a while. The little snake took Qingqing's little hand, said that his mother's hands were very warm. Bai Qingqing didn't understand anymore. "My hand was just connected to the ice water. Where is it warm?" But he saw the little snake on his cheeks. It was attached to Qingqing's little hand. A look of happiness on his face. It is said that it is warm in the heart. There aren't many such opportunities. Just let me feel it for once. Bai Qingqing's heart was deeply affected by the words of the little snake. Touched, I thought that I really rarely met him. Little ever cared about him. He replied by gently touching the little snake's cheek. "Good mom doesn't go." And the other side of this time, Curtis, Parker, and Vincent. The three of them were braving the heavy rain to plant wheat in the field. The rain-soaked land becomes unusually soft, convenient for sowing. It's been a long time. Parker saw that the rain was getting heavier and heavier. I thought that Qingqing could only play at home. It must be boring. He turned his head to Vincent on the side and said yes. Vincent on his way over. "It's up to you to say that you have something to talk about. If you have anything to say, just say it." Vincent turned his head and thought about it. Hesitated for a moment. Still spoke. "You know what is happening these days? About necklaces and strange dreams. There are also soul crystals that can carry memories. I have a hunch. The body of the female is too weak. In case we didn't take care of something accidental." The words are not finished yet. He was interrupted by Parker. He said angrily, "What are you talking about? I'm sure I'll be able to take care of it." Curtis was silent. He thought about it seriously, although it sounds ridiculous. But the male in that dream was too similar to himself, because he almost walked on this road. When I first met Qingqing, he never thought about it. Share it with others. He has lived with Xiao Bai for several years. The life of females is also found far more vulnerable than you think. If you change to the way you used to take care of yourself, I'm afraid I will have to follow the old path of my ancestors, like the scorpion beast in the dream. Come to think of this. He immediately turned to Vincent and said, "You go on." Vincent continued. Although now it seems to be a stable life. But in this perilous world, for the safety of Qingqing, we have to plan ahead. Otherwise, if something happens, there will be no regrets. So I'm thinking, if the soul still exists after death, if one day Qingqing encounters an accident, we can still find him, even just listen to Curtis go on and even resurrect him. Vincent and Parker both looked back in surprise. That's right, that's exactly what Vincent had in mind. This girl traveled to a world full of orcs. A snake and 3 leopards were also born. His mates were discussing how to get him. Resurrection Parker shouted in surprise resurrection. Come to think of this. He quickly covered his mouth. I yelled too loudly for a while. You must not let anyone else know about it. They had to study it in the shadows. Luckily, there's no one around. Vincent nodded in agreement. This naturally cannot be divulged. Curtis on the side was sowing wheat, while thinking, if there really will be that day, in order to keep the situation under control, they better be able to bring all the souls. The headron is all in his hand, and then look for the moment that belongs to Xiaobai. After a while, and they saw that there was not much wheat left in their hands. Dispatch speed. The agile Parker goes back to take care of Qingqing first. Curtis stayed with Vincent. Plant the rest of the wheat. Parker randomly transforms into a bestiality, running quickly towards the stone castle. He had just arrived outside the stone castle. I sensed something was wrong. How can it be so quiet? He looked upstairs in confusion. A catapult jumped through the window. I looked around. Qingqing. Sure enough, they weren't there. Thinking that Qingqing must have run out to play again. Also brought in the hugs. And the only place Qingqing can go, it's just going to be a little snake. Come to think of this, he hurriedly jumped downstairs. Run towards the place where the baby snake lives. I thought about such a heavy rain. Qingqing, don't get drenched. Prone to illness. And the other side of the time, the little snake is happily nestled in its mother's arms. Bai Qingqing touched her head lovingly. The leopards are also playing in circles on the sidelines. And then on the side stretched out his hand. Gradually waking up, then he cried uncomfortably. Bai Qingqing hurriedly turned around. I thought that it had just eaten enough. Now it must be pulled. Seeing this, the little snake wanted to come forward to help. Was stopped by Bai Qingqing. Thinking so dirty. Let's clean up after ourselves. Little Snake thought it was Qingqing who didn't want to help him. He looked very lost. Looking at Qingqing, who was busy on the side. He really wanted to do something for him. That's when it happened. Outside the cave, there was a sudden roar of a leopard. The little snake immediately became vigilant. Hold crystal behind you. Bai Qingqing listened to the familiar roar. Hurriedly said, it seems that Parker is coming. Have a snake man who spoils himself to the sky. What an experience. Bai Qingqing listened to the familiar roar outside the cave. Hurriedly said, it seems that Parker is coming. Parker heard the sound of crystals in the cave. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. Sure enough, it was here. He immediately transformed into a human form. Said, how did you come out alone? I didn't see you when I got home. I was so scared that my soul was about to fly. The little snake saw this momentum. I thought he would bully Xiaobai. Hurriedly stood in front of Xiaobai. A murderous aura of spiritual power emanated from his body. Bai Qingqing thought that the little snake was scared. Hurriedly stretched out his hand to comfort the little snake and said that it was fine. There's Mom here. Don't be afraid of the little snake listening. Suddenly his face was surprised and speechless. Then Qingqing turned to Parker and said, wheat. You all plant. Is it over, Curtis? Is he back? Parker thrust back in displeasure. Curtis came back while he was still in the field. As soon as I heard this, Bai Qingqing and the little snake are both at the same time. Breathed a sigh of relief. Luckily, Parker walked over to Qingqing. Persuade him to hurry home. Curtis will really be back later. So Qingqing didn't stay any longer. Get up and say to the little snake Mom will come to see you next time. Leaned over and kissed him on the forehead. You have to take good care of yourself. Let's talk about it. He was held in Parker's arms and turned away. Only the little tongue was left alone. Lost thought that he was gone again. Every time, it is always yourself who is left behind. It didn't take long. Parker took Crystal back to the stone castle. Luckily, the rain stopped. Otherwise, they will definitely be drenched in soup. I haven't entered the stone castle yet. Parker put Qingqing down. Speaking of you, it smells like snakes and beasts. Gotta take a shower. Otherwise, Curtis will definitely smell it when he comes back. With that, he turned around and went to boil him bath water. Bai Qingqing turned her head and embroidered vigorously on her body. I wonder if it's such an exaggeration. Why didn't you smell it? But I haven't had time to think about it yet. The leopards grabbed their mother's skirt excitedly, climbed up, hanging like a sloth on Bai Qingqing's body. The other leopards saw this. They all pounced on their mothers and hung them on their mothers. Bai Qingqing told them to go down many times, but they don't listen. In the end, I had no choice but to give up. Well, I can't really take them. I'm like a Donald Duck now. It didn't take long. Bai Qingqing finished taking a bath. Parker also washed all his clothes. Dried up. Curtis Verson also came back from planting wheat. Looked at the two people who were drying their clothes on the side. Bai Qingqing hurriedly waved her hand to greet them. You're back. Because of mistakes. That's why he's so attentive. Immediately stepped forward and grabbed the arms of the two of them. Let's go into the bedroom. It's warm inside. But Curtis still noticed a little bit of an anomaly. He asked, how can there be a faint smell of snakes and beasts in the air? Bai Qingqing was a little weak-hearted, but he didn't dare to show it on his face at all. Look up and say that the snake beast is not you. Okay, don't guess, you're tired all day. Come with me into the house and rest. Curtis thought for a moment, although I knew that there was a small snake nearby. But no matter how bold the little snake is, it is impossible for them to come to my territory. Plus the weather is bad today. Xiao Bai shouldn't go out. Come to think of this. He nodded in agreement. Touch Xiao Bai's head. Walk with him into the house. Look at it. A group of men gathered around to deliver the girl. The child is about to come out. Curtis touched Xiao Bai's head. Walk with him into the house. And at this time within the tribe, a man is striding a meteor. Seeing this, passers-by stepped forward and asked Harvey, where are you going? Harvey gasped. While running, I went back to the leader's house. His daughter Jasmine's word boy is about to be born. I saw Jasmine lying on the beast's bed. I was shaking with pain. Constant painful exhalations. Companions are anxiously guarding on the side. Seeing Jasmine in pain like this, they couldn't help but get worried, wondering how it hurts so much. Will his life be in danger? Harvey was born comforting. Life and death are like this. Don't worry about Jasmine coming out. But what I'm going to say next, he swallowed it deeply. I thought that raw porcelain boy is not like raw bear boy. Even females who have given birth to several litters will be life-threatening. Inexperience for females who have given birth. The body is not ready either. The danger is higher. But at this moment, in order to soothe the emotions of the partners, how dare he tell his partner the truth? They were also slightly relieved after listening to his words, guarding his partner every step of the way. But I saw that Jasmine was getting more and more painful. The whole person couldn't help but start convulsing. The man was immediately anxious. It's like it's all right. Turning to Harvey, he asked Bai Qingqing again, is he like that too? Harvey nodded and replied yes. When Alva heard this, he immediately transformed into a beast. Fly out the window. He's going to find Bai Qingqing, thinking that he has the experience of life and death. Should be able to help. I can't care about the pouring rain outside. Hardly wanted to stop it. Thinking of such a heavy rain. Don't put Bai Qingqing into gonorrhea anymore. But Alva was long gone. All he could think about was how to do Jasmine. When Bai Qingqing heard the news that Jasmine was going to give birth, without saying a word, he cut off the dishes and chopsticks. Promised to go with Alva. Curtis glanced at Alva in displeasure, reached out and grabbed Bai Qingqing. Tell him to finish the meal first. Bai Qingqing wanted to refuse. After seeing Curtis's serious and determined expression, I didn't say anything more. I had to sit down and eat. Seeing that Vincent kept adding vegetables to his bowl, Bai Qingqing was displeased with Dao Vincent. Even you stopped me. And Parker. I don't know where to drive Alva to. I saw Parker at this time. Alva was driven to the gate of the stone castle. Ava was no match for him, but he still said firmly, even if he was expelled by you, I'm not leaving. I'm waiting for him here. The white crystal was full of drifting. Curtis on the side just dared to be angry, but didn't dare to speak. Can you believe that this is a woman who has just given birth? The white crystal was full of drifting. Curtis on the side only dared to be angry, but didn't dare to speak. So I could only devour my food. Not for a while. I finally finished a full bowl of rice. He puffed out his cheeks and was happy. Showed Curtis the empty bowl. Ready to go. Vincent hurriedly raised his hand and said, Qingqing, you wait. There is oil on the mouth. Go ahead. He gently wiped the oil stains from the corners of his mouth. Bai Qingqing thanked her. It suddenly occurred to me who sent me over. As soon as the words fell, Parker walked in from outside the door and said, let's go. I'll send you. So the group set off in a hurry. When Bai Qingqing came to Jasmine's house, Jasmine was still crying. The pain is unstoppable. One thing Bai Qingqing came, he immediately turned around and said, Bai Qingqing, you didn't even tell me that life and death hurt so much. Bai Qingqing was stunned for a moment. Then I thought again, seeing Jasmine look like this, then I will be much more relieved. I breathed a sigh of relief, and then I came back to it anyway. It would hurt. Tell you earlier, can you still raise a baby without pressure? Jasmine suddenly felt a little more. Intense pain came. I couldn't help but shiver. Tears slipped uncontrollably like beads of broken thread. When everyone was panicking and overwhelmed. But I heard Harvey say that he was born. The dead boy was born. Bai Qingqing was taken aback. I didn't expect it to be so easy. Why did I hurt so long when I was born? But fortunately, Jasmine is safe. After collapse, Jasmine spread weakly on the animal skin hull. I asked, what about this boy? Show me. The partner hugged the boy over. Said with a little embarrassment, it's kind of ugly. Jasmine waved her hand weakly after hearing this, and it didn't matter. Show me. So everyone poked their heads in curiosity. Bai Qingqing looked at the villain in front of her. A look of doubt. This is still called ugly. I thought to myself, although my skin is a little dark, but Bien's flesh was red when he was born. Much better looking. The skin is smooth. It's not at all like the little old man and was born with. I couldn't help but say to Jasmine on the side, don't look at an Anne's beautiful appearance now. When he was born, he was ugly. It's the same as a little old man. Jasmine took the hot little hand. I still think he looks really ugly. Bai Qingqing was speechless for a moment. With a wave of his hand, he prepared to go back. Jasmine hurriedly stopped him. I thought we would finally meet once. Why did you just come and leave? But I heard Bai Qingqing pretend to be angry and returned. I'm afraid I'll beat you up if I stay any longer. You're a good-looking kid. It's much better looking than an N, who was just born. You're pure to be angry with me, isn't it? Jasmine couldn't help but snort and laughed ha-ha. Yes, I didn't mean to be angry with you. I haven't seen any other words either. For the sake of both of us, we are both pretty boys. Mom, can you forgive me? Bai Qingqing is not easy to install anymore. He smiled and forgave him. Looking at Jasmine, she seems to have regained some of her spirits. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Thankfully, Jasmine is safe. Two men became fathers at the same time, but the children are not their own. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Thankfully, Jasmine is safe. Then he remembered something very important. Immediately said to Jasmine's companions in a serious manner, "Do you know about confinement?" Seeing that both of them cast puzzled glances at him. "I don't know what confinement is." But Harvey understood. He smiled silently from the sidelines. "I thought that this was to make Bai Qingqing's family. Something that has tasted the bitterness. Now it's Jasmine's turn." Thereupon, he encouraged the two new fathers to work hard. So he went down to the tree first. "I want to stew a nourishing soup for Jasmine. Bai Qingqing is strict." Su told them about the necessity of confinement. If you are not confined, it will leave the root of the disease that cannot be cured. Everyone saw that it was so serious. Immediately tense up. I anxiously asked what the confinement was. "Is it easy to find? Where did you find your confinement?" Bai Qingqing listened. I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. But he still endured. "Make a serious face." Explained. "Confinement means that you can't go out for a month. You can only stay at home." Edgar was relieved to hear this. I didn't expect confinement to be so simple. But then I heard Bai Qingqing say again, "You can't touch cold water yet. No bathing, washing of hair, and hair blowing. You can't smell the smell of firewood smoke, or so on." After that, I didn't forget to cough twice. Said that he just couldn't sit still during the confinement period. Smelled smoke in the iron-making room. Now I can't even smell a little smoke. When I smell it, I cough badly. After Ed's family listened, said with a serious face, "I will definitely take care of Jasmine's confinement." Jasmine looked at him with such a serious expression. I couldn't help blushing slightly. Born with Crane Road Edgar, he must be able to. Bai Qingqing looked at Jasmine, who was so unswerving. I can think of it. Edgar must have been very fond of him. Plus bar after a while. Jasmine often stretched. He had been lying down for a day. I felt like my whole body was getting stiff. So he quickly sat up and moved his muscles and bones. Bai Qingqing saw this. Surprised, he stepped forward and asked Jasmine, "Why don't you get up and change your clothes yourself? Why is there such a big gap with me when I was a magnet? Please pretend to be weak in front of yourself." After Jasmine changed her clothes, look at the children in the walled fort, stretched out his finger and touched it. But he still thinks this kid is so ugly. Not at all like myself. After hearing this, Bai Qingqing stepped forward to persuade him to rest assured. The dead boy will look better the longer it grows. And it was called ugly when she was born. But it's pretty now. Jasmine turned her head curiously. I want Qingqing to bring an in to show me. He'd never seen an in before. This girl is the little princess of the beast room. She was strolling freely with her mother in the flower fields. Jasmine wanted to make. Qingqing brought in to show herself. Bai Qingqing showed a little embarrassment. Hesitantly said yes. Well, I'll have to see if Parker is back. Then he came to the mouth of the tree hole. He poked his head out and looked down. However, Qingqing is not gone yet. How could Parker leave alone? He had been waiting quietly under the tree. Orcs have very sensitive ears. He was perfectly able to hear their conversation. So he looked up at Qingqing and shook his head, said that he refused to hug in it. Bai Qingqing hurriedly rubbed her hands. A pleading expression was revealed. Parker finally sighed helplessly. Turned around to pick up an in. It didn't take long. Parker hugged an in over. As soon as I saw my mother, an in opened her hand to him. A look of delight. Bai Qingqing hurriedly took an in into her arms. Puzzled, Curtis didn't say anything. Parker nodded and replied no. After all, we have benefits. Let's get on good terms with Jasmine first. Our stinky boys have a better chance. It's done. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but laugh out loud after hearing this. I didn't expect them to think about it quite thoughtfully. So he hurriedly got up, hugged in front of everyone. As soon as everyone saw in, their eyes widened in surprise. Call it too pretty? Jasmine hurriedly stretched out her hand to hug her, seeing in Anne's appearance. They can imagine it. He must be a great beauty when he grows up. Bai Qingqing smiled, said, "You don't know how ugly he was when he was born. After laborious birth, I was so scared that I wanted to stuff it back in my stomach. Generate a new one. So, your child will look better and better in the future." Jasmine saw in Anne's changes. "I don't think my children are ugly anymore." And gave him a nice name. "It's called Anna. I thought about waiting for myself to finish my confinement. It's time for the Tianxin grass to bloom. Later, even if Bai Qingqing was not accompanied, I'm no longer alone." Bai Qingqing also imagined that kind of picture. Wait for an end to walk. The scene of leading him for a walk in the flower field. It's really desirable. Then he reminded everyone, prepare a little bit of skin. Will be used more often in the future. After some explanation, Parker suddenly leaned out, remind him that it's time to go. So he turned around and said goodbye to Jasmine, hugged in and left. As they passed by the puddle, Bai Qingqing stretched comfortably. The air near the water is just good. I couldn't help but look at the clear water on the side. But I saw that the water was bubbling and bubbling. The woman's mouth was wide open. A school of small fish swam towards his mouth. Bai Qingqing looked at the clear water on the side. But I saw that the water was bubbling and bubbling. Suddenly, a handsome man sprang out from under the water. Bai Qingqing was taken aback. One but sat on the grass. But I heard Lan Zhe say Qingqing excitedly. "Long time no see." Bai Qingqing showed a mouthful of his white teeth. I wanted to kiss myself with Lan Zhe's little white bait. Lan Zhe hurriedly agreed. I turned around and went to fetch the little white bait. It didn't take long. Then he took a bubble full of fish. Tell Qingqing to stick her mouth in. Bai Qingqing suddenly hesitated. "Do you want to just put your mouth shut? That should be weird." "I'm a little embarrassed, though. But for the health of your teeth. Shoot to death." Come to think of this. He opened his mouth wide and plunged in. But the little fish was as if they had been hungry for a long time. The crowd rushed towards Qingqing's mouth. Bai Qingqing was taken aback. Quickly shut up, but accidentally swallowed it into his stomach. He suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. "I don't know what to do." Lan Zhe saw this. He waved his hand at Qingqing and said them. "Very fecundity. Don't worry at all. I still have a lot of them." Bai Qingqing rolled her eyes speechlessly. I wondered if the point wasn't to swallow the fish alive. Who cares about the quantity? Lan Zhe suddenly saw the quilt on the side, and then who Vincent was holding. Hurriedly beckoned. "Is it Han Geely, the little magnetic boy you showed me? Let me take a look." Vincent turned his head and glared at him in displeasure. Bloodsplatter Crystal waved her hand. It was he who brought it in. Vincent stepped forward reluctantly. Lan Zeben was still a little afraid of Vincent's majesty. But at the moment I saw in, it was as if time had stood still. He seems to be prettier. Lan Zhe thought, only their own race. It has the most beautiful magnetism in the world. If you don't stay in the tribe all the time. He would have thought, this is the subload of a merfolk. But he opened his mouth wide in surprise. Said he grew up so slowly. Vincent and Parker gritted their teeth in anger. They're getting bigger every day, okay? Vincent immediately got up and took it away. It was said to be windy outside. I'm afraid of blowing it in. Only Lan Zhe was left looking at him in disappointment. I haven't seen enough yet. Bai Qingqing saw this. Also sighed helplessly in his heart. Lands are lanes. Let's have some eyes in the future. Then Bai Qingqing also finished cleaning her teeth and prepared to go back. Lanze saw that he was about to leave so soon. I want to invite Qingqing to go underwater to play. Bai Qingqing should go home for an inn. He politely refused. Wait for an inn to be bigger. He can take an inn to play underwater. Lanze immediately smiled happily when he heard this. I just hope that this day will come sooner. The girl who came to the ratings unexpectedly is being chased by a group of hugs. The girl's name is Bai Qingqing. In the morning, she was staying with her partner by a puddle. Bai Qingqing said that when an inn grows up, took an inn with him. Let's go under the water of lanes. Then he went back to the stone castle with the others. He had just returned home. It began to rain heavily outside the door. Bai Qingqing planted her head on the animal skin cushion. It's still warm on the bed. He played with his hair boringly. I wonder when the weather will start to get warmer. As the light, rainy season continues, the climate is getting warmer and warmer. I have to hurry up before the heat. Lose the little fat on your belly. And so, after a few months, I can wear it as I wish. Thin and beautiful little skirt. And Parker versus Vincent. It is to devote himself to ironwear. Career above. Now I can take it in by myself. There was also Curtis at home to help. When you are bored, take your children for a walk around the tribe. It's a bit boring to live a small day, but also leisurely. The only thing that doesn't go well, it is the night of the full moon every month. It's an uncomfortable day. On this day, Anin cried all night again. The whole person collapsed. Fortunately, he gradually fell asleep the next morning. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but wipe her tears. I saw that I slept peacefully. I thought it wouldn't be so uncomfortable. Vincent placed and on a bed of hides. Said that he decided to go to Yinqing today. Bai Qingqing lowered her head and was silent after hearing this. He understood Vincent's reason for going to Yinqing. Everyone is equally distressed about an inn, so he didn't object. Get up and prepare some more hides for Vincent. It's cold at night in the desert. When everyone saw him so readily, they agreed. They were all very surprised. Vincent stepped forward and wondered, "Don't you ask me why I'm going to Yinqing?" Bai Qingqing carefully collected the animal skin. He replied that I believe you have your own arrangements. I don't need to ask. I just want you to come back safely. Vincent saw him reply. I knew that I was going to be strict. The city is looking for an antidote for an inn. Has been guessed by Qingqing. He didn't say anything more. I'm glad to have this kind of understanding from my partner. Bai Qingqing took out another thick animal skin. Sew them together. It can hold 4 or 5 caddies of water. Command Vincent to hang him around his waist. Vincent smiled and said that there was no need to bother. I don't take anything with me every time I go. There's an oasis there. You can drink water when you arrive. Bai Qingqing was very distressed. He remembered Vincent saying that. It takes 3 or 4 days to get there on the road. Is he going to go without water for 3 or 4 days? Vincent, however, disagreed. So you've always been like this. Bai Qingqing stroked her lower body. Seriously, he said to Vincent that the past is the past. Now I want you to learn to take care of yourself. So you have to put it on. Vincent's cheeks flushed slightly. Faced with a partner who treats himself like this. And why shouldn't he say yes? Curtis stepped forward to take the heavy hose as well. In 3 or 2 clicks, he was sewn up. Bai Qingqing smiled with relief when she saw this. It's a family that loves each other, that's right. Look at the stitches neatly. A drip-proof water bag. He hung his own hands on Vincent's waist. Patiently taught him how to use it. What exactly happened? We'll let a woman watch 3 times in the middle of the night, running in the rain with a baby in your arms. Bai Qingqing hung the water bag on Vincent's waist with her own hands. Patiently taught him how to use it. Vincent wrote down everything he said. There was reluctance on his face. Then he turned around and handed over the ironware to Parker. In the security of the tribe, I asked Curtis to look at it. Parker and Curtis readily agreed. Finally, it is to say goodbye to Qingqing. He didn't dare to look back. I'm afraid that I won't give up like this again. He didn't dare to take another step to leave. Seeing that Vincent had already walked a few steps away, Bai Qingqing stood in place reluctantly. I couldn't help but shout, "You must come back safely." Vincent was waved at him. The hand is also his reassurance. Bai Qingqing chased after him outside the stone castle, looking at his vanishing back. I thought about this one. I don't know how long it will take to get back. He finally sighed helplessly, turned around, and went back. In a blink of an eye, it was the third day of Vincent's departure. Bai Qingqing often forgets the fact that Vincent has left. Occasionally, when you need to pick up something, don't forget to call Vincent to come over and help. But I suddenly found out. It turned out that he was gone. It was the 10th day of Vincent's absence. Parker catches a big fish, made a fishball feast for Qingqing. Bai Qingqing eats delicious fish balls. Don't forget to say, we'll keep a copy. Let's wait for Vincent to come back and eat it. Tender fish balls. Vincent liked it too. But as soon as the words were spoken, both fell silent. Gradually, Vincent has been gone for more than 20 days. It wasn't the night of the full moon yet, and then suddenly had a seizure. The body is getting hotter and hotter. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to take him to Lanze. Use ice cubes to cool him down. And today, there is another flood in the tribe. Curtis and Parker both went to help and haven't come back yet. Who can help themselves now? If only Vincennes were still around. He didn't care about anything else. Had to brave the rain to take it in. Run in the direction of the puddle. In the blink of an eye, Vincent has been gone for more than a month. Bai Qingqing looked at the cubs with cheeks. How do you feel like they're foxy? It's getting more and more like Vincent. When it was over, he thought that he was probably sick with thoughts. But I heard the roar of animals coming from outside the tribe. Bai Qingqing raised her head excitedly. Could it be Vincennes back? I saw only a large number of beasts. The people are all in the direction of the gate of the tribe. It was as if something big had happened. Bai Qingqing looked at so many tiger beasts in the tribe. Gathered together, there must be hundreds, to say the least. But Vincent couldn't be found. He waved his hand to the group leader next to him. Ask what happened. The team leader turned to tell him. It's out there that there is a group of young males who want to join the tribe. Bai Qingqing was immediately excited after hearing this, and it was great. What about Vincent? The team leader said that Vincent had already sent him a message. Tell him to let the young males in, and it is up to him to arrange. Bai Qingqing lowered her head in frustration after hearing this. It turned out that he hadn't come back yet. Parker patted his hand at this. And I'm here. Just when Qingqing was lost, I saw groups of orcs in their direction. There are corpse beasts coming. Wolves, beasts, and beasts. Apparently, they all came from neighboring tribes. There are probably more than 50 of them. It's all young and sturdy beasts. For the horde. But the basics are getting stronger day by day. Women here are very rare. They were riding orcs. Huge to choose a partner. A new group of young males has arrived in the tribe. Bai Qingqing said excitedly by pulling Parker's ear. Parker, take a look. There's a violent weight loss. You got a companion. I saw not far ahead. A group of emaciated people were walking towards the tribe. Suddenly, a thin man saw Parker on the side. A look of surprise suddenly appeared. Parker was more intense. He gritted his teeth. There is a powerful discriminatory emanation all over the body. Be vigilant ahead. Bai Qingqing saw this. Puzzled, he asked if he knew each other. Who are they? Seeing that they were tortured, the elder was so similar to Parker. Bai Qingqing boldly guessed. They won't be your compatriots. Only then did the three leopards notice Parker. Qingqing behind her. Immediately, my eyes were full of tears. It's like being shot by Cupid. Immediately, ran excitedly in their direction. Parker hurriedly blocked Qingqing's face. A fierce force erupted from all over his body. Bai Qingqing saw that they were so enthusiastic. I had to say hello to them in embarrassment. But I saw Parker stretch out his claws. "Sink your eyes," fiercely said, "You dare to beat my crystal idea. Don't blame me for being unkind to you." At this time, the leopards behind him also ran over. Maybe it's a blood relationship. As soon as the leopard saw 3 leopards, he threw himself at them excitedly. Only then did the 3 leopards stop rushing forward. "Touch this cute leopard cub. I wonder if you have cubs." Parker smirked, and he didn't need to ask. "Can't you smell it?" As soon as I heard this, the 3 leopards hurriedly lowered their heads and showed off carefully. At this time, the team leader also came over. It's being welcomed. Young orcs who have just joined the tribe. Don't forget to say it. Females of the tribe. It's definitely a lot more than you guys think. Each beast has a great opportunity for both. As soon as I heard this, the new young bears immediately howled, a look of anticipation. But they haven't seen a large number of females yet. When I wonder if the team leader is cheating. The blood-sword patriarch waved his hand. Said the female behind her, "Come out." As soon as the words fell, I saw groups of females sitting on their partners' backs. He walked out of the woods. The team leader didn't forget to break his fingers and calculate. The tribe currently has exactly 180 magnets. Oh no, 2 new magnetic loads have been added this year. Counting them, they have 182 magnets. The horde could have continued to expand its magnetism, just because there is currently a shortage of males. I just didn't go on. Even if it's the Beast King who dominates one side, I will still be at a loss when it comes to bringing children. The group leader said that there are more than 180 females in the tribe. It can continue to expand. I could only hear the blood boiling of the males present. Bai Qingqing was so noisy by this sound that her eardrum collapsed. Hurriedly grabbed Parker and said, "Anna may have been woken up. Let's go back." Just walked outside the stone fort. I heard Anne's loud cry. It seems that Anna was really woken up. The two hurriedly returned to the stone castle. I saw Curtis guarding Anne's side. A look of scrambled hands. Said that he didn't move in. But I don't know why he kept crying like this. I don't know what to do. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stepped forward to pick up An. Said he was supposed to be woken up while sleeping. It's normal to cry for a while. Curtis let out a long sigh of relief. Fortunately, it's not my own problem. Anne's mother is back. Stretch out your chubby little hands. Touch my mother's cheek. Only then did he gradually stop crying. Bai Qingqing checked the animal skin cushion for him, while telling Curtis, "Today the tribe has joined 4 or 5. 10 young males." Curtis nodded disapprovingly. Bai Qingqing looked at An in front of her again. I can't help but think to myself, he's 5 months old now. His arms and legs have also grown. Come to think of this, he hurriedly ordered Parker on the side. "Go put last year." He helped An find out the little clothes he made. At the very bottom of the wooden box, Parker turned and began rummaging. It didn't take long to find it. Bai Qingqing picked out a pink dress in Parker's hand. It's one of his favorites. Hurriedly took him out and put it on for An. This is what he did when he was pregnant with An. But unexpectedly, the newborn baby was better than himself. It's much smaller. The clothes are a lot bigger. Now that An is older, I was able to wear the clothes just right. An was well-behaved and run Qingqing fiddling. It didn't take long to get it on. An in a small skirt. It's getting cuter. Parker said, gesturing to his arm. Look at An's arm. The clothes they wore were all open. Like a bird. I couldn't help but laugh. Bai Qingqing glared at him unhappily. Parker saw this. Hurriedly changed his words. It doesn't look like that either. Bai Qingqing ignored Parker, turned around, and held An in his arms. I thought to myself that he had really suffered during this time. It must be boring too. So, I decided to take it out to play. A group of men fought for it. The female she likes and fights. Bai Qingqing decided to take it out to play. He turned to ask Curtis on the side, "Do you want to go out together?" Actually, he just asked politely, because Bai Qingqing knew that Curtis didn't like to go out. Usually they don't come out with them. Such, he can go to the little snake generously. Unexpectedly, I saw Curtis nodding and agreeing to go out together. Bai Qingqing suddenly smiled embarrassedly. I wondered if Curtis hadn't been reluctant to go out all the time. It seems that I can only meet the little snake next time. When they came outside the tribe, I saw groups of male orcs fighting each other. The scene was very lively. The new additions will fight each other, run for a stronger bear. In this way, they can be chosen by the females of their choice. Middle. I heard that there are also several female suitors in the tribe. The competition is fierce. Bai Qingqing. At a glance, I saw the figure of Jasmine in front of me. I saw Jasmine turn her head and wave at him. Call him over loudly. Jasmine's cries. It attracted the attention of the male in the battle ahead. They looked back sadly behind them. Bai Qingqing witnessed his gaze. Hurriedly turned around and covered an An's yin after the wreck. Unhappily, he said that Jasmine was so loud, and it is still young. You can't be targeted by unscrupulous people. Jasmine lowered her hand in embarrassment. I guess that's too nervous. Bai Qingqing covered up an Manhwa. Only then did he come forward to ask Jasmine if her confinement was ready. Jasmine nodded. Of course. Didn't you say that if you don't do it well, you will get the root of the disease? Bai Qingqing was very suspicious after listening to it. Didn't Jasmine wash her hair and take a shower for a month? Saw Jasmine knocked down with a relaxed face. What's so hard about this? I usually wash my body once a month. I don't wash it when it snows. Bai Qingqing was shocked when she heard this. Hurriedly stepped forward and showed off carefully. I didn't smell anything. Then it suddenly dawned on him, and Madara scratched his head. I wondered why I was so stupid. Noni is a tiger clan. None of the female orcs have those head oils. Dandruff troubles. Wild animals don't even have the consciousness to take a bath. Contrast. Jasmine is washed once a month. It seems to love cleanliness a lot. Jasmine saw her expression and explained again. Said that it was because it was cold during confinement. When it's hot, I still take a shower every day. I can't stand it if I don't take a shower for a month on a hot day. Bai Qingqing smiled softly after hearing this. It seems that I am thinking too much. The two were chatting. But I heard the roar of the fight behind him getting louder and louder. The girl looks at her best friend's partner. I couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. The two were chatting. But I heard the roar of the fight behind him getting louder and louder. The dueling arena seems to be getting more and more intense. Bai Qingqing was about to leave with an in. Go somewhere else to play. Seeing this, Jasmine wondered, don't you look at it. The males were strong this time. Parker heard this. Suddenly a fierce force erupted, glared at Jasmine angrily. Jasmine saw the momentum, hurriedly turned around and changed his words. It must be exciting. It's very ornamental. It's a shame not to see it. Then I'll go and see it. Go play. With that, he waved his hand at Qingqing. Hurry up and slip away. I thought to myself that Bai Qingqing's partner was really terrible. Bai Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. He turned around and grabbed Parker's arm, laughing and laughing. Where are we going to play now? Parker looked doting. Let Qingqing decide. Bai Qingqing thought for a moment, decided to go to the mine to have a look. Curtis stepped forward, grabbed Qingqing's arm, and said, let's go. There is no land in the mountains and forests where females can lay their feet. I'll carry you away. Bai Qingqing's face flushed slightly. Slightly, shyly nodded in agreement. The group walked in the direction of the mine. It was noon. The sun was also very hot. There is very little shelter on the mine. Bai Qingqing was a little dizzy from the sun, hurriedly stretched out his hand to block it. Seeing this, Curtis suggested taking a break. Parker said, pointing not far ahead, "It seems like that's where Vincent said. There's also a rest next to it. Let's get over it." Bai Qingqing was stunned after hearing this. The thought ahead is to find the soul crystal. Stone Place. I can't help but send something out. Parker thought he was coming over today. He wanted to go down to the ground and take a look. And there's a big rock next to it. Great for resting. Bai Qingqing couldn't say more after hearing this. It's worth compromising and agreeing. The group came to the crack in the stone. Inside the cave, Curtis helped Qingqing to sit down on the stone. Parker stepped forward and touched Qingqing's head. "So you have a good rest here. I'll go down and take a look." Bai Qingqing was a little worried after hearing this. Thought he was just talking and playing. "I didn't expect to go down." Parker said, "I just want to go down and get to know the soul. The golden stone is only one piece. There's still a lot of blocks. Advise him not to worry." After saying that, he lowered his head and kissed Qingqing's cheek. Before Curtis made a move, he turned around and ran away as fast as he could. He came to the crack in the ground. One jumped over. Bai Qingqing looked at the dark crack in the ground, a little annoyed that Parker hadn't told him sooner, so that he could come with the orb of light. Curtis told him that leopards have very good night vision. Don't worry about persuasion. In a dark place, the light beads are too bright and conspicuous. If there is a beast with a light source, it will only make him more dangerous. Bai Qingqing also felt very reasonable after hearing this. I didn't think much about it. That's when it happened. I saw a hawk beast flying overhead. There was a loud chirp. The two of them looked up in unison. Bai Qingqing suddenly lowered her head. "Look at your empty hands." "Mu enisid anan." Come to think of this. He suddenly screamed violently, "Mayanin." A group of 10 Shiring is facing a female classmate. But he didn't know it. He also stretched out his little hand curiously. Seeing this, Bai Qingqing exclaimed violently, "Mayanin." When I turned my head, I saw a group of stones scurrying, flying in the direction of the big rock behind them. At this time, Enro was lying on a big rock. He saw the flying scurrying coming. Curiously, he stretched out his little hand with an excited face. Bai Qingqing broke out in a cold sweat when she saw this. I can't think about anything else. Desperately running forward, protected in front of an inn, trying to drive them away. Scurrying saw this. Stretched out a sharp. The claws slammed down on Bai Qingqing, just as they were about to get closer. But I was afraid of being made a loud noise. A snake-tail draw. Scurrying screamed and flew several meters away. Slammed into the stone wall. Bai Qingqing was just about to breathe a sigh of relief. But Curtis said angrily, "You don't want to die. I haven't pursued the last injury. Do you really think of yourself as a male?" Bai Qingqing saw this. A little ashamed, he replied, "I see an in danger. Didn't take into account so much either. Just take care of it and be safe." Curtis shuddered. A layer of self-reproach and sorrow floated in my heart. He reached out and held Bai tightly in his arms. "Speaking of which, I didn't expect there to be a stone lion sound here. It's me who didn't protect you. Speaking of which," his voice choked. After calming down for a while, Curtis slowly explained, "Epicking is specialized. Eats prey that the predator has not finished, or cubs with no attack power." Bai Qingqing nodded after hearing this. As long as an is okay. He also realized, I can't act so recklessly in the future. And I saw that the birds were very large. Turning to ask Curtis, "Can I pick it up and eat it later?" Curtis shook his head and said it wasn't tasty. Bai Qingqing will be skeptical, so he asked Curtis to guard an inn. I took a small wooden stick for myself. Curious, I stepped forward to take a look. He poked the stone lion eagle hard. Seeing that he didn't react at all, "I guess I'm dead." He turned him over. Unexpectedly, a huge stench came out. Bai Qingqing was smoked and immediately retreated. It's okay for that. Curtis grabbed him from behind and said, "Be careful." Now do you believe it? Bai Qingqing covered her mouth and nose tightly, nodding his head again and again. Can't help but be a little nauseous. But it's full of rocks. There are few animals. How could there be a stone lion eagle? And at this time, inside the crack in the ground, Parker had groped his way a long way. I thought about the position according to Vincent. It should be here. Walking and walking. Suddenly, I felt a cold snap ahead. The temperature is getting colder and colder. Parker, who is usually not afraid of the cold. I couldn't help but shrink back. I saw some light in front of me. Look ahead. I didn't expect this world to be here. And there's a big slice. It's like a sea of stars. The man found one inside a crack in the stone. Pretty ice beads. But I don't know the most fascinating and dangerous. Parker found a large patch of headrons. And ice. It's like a sea of stars. I thought it was still the cold season when Vincent first came down. He should have ignored this normal cold snap. That's when I missed this large piece of spar. As he walked inward, a huge blue ice bead was also found, flashing with dazzling light. Parker's eyes lit up. Curious, he ran forward. After a few steps, he came to the ice beads. Curious, what could such a beautiful blue ice bead be? I thought that Qingqing would definitely like it. Come to think of this, he was ready to reach for it. But when his hand was about to touch the ice beads, I felt a sense of meaning that hit my heart. Parker stopped instantly, hurriedly withdrew his hand. I thought this is not going to work. His instincts told him not to be so reckless. So he picked up the stone and turned it upside down. I was going to use him for enlightenment first. I saw him throw the stone at the ice bead and exclaimed in this life. The stones froze instantly, bounced backwards at breakneck speed. Parker hurriedly dodged. I almost hurt myself. It's also too dangerous. He sat down on the ground. He patted his chest in fear and said that he scared me to death. Let's go up first. Tell Qingqing what good things I've found. So he crawled out of the crack. When he climbed out of the cracks in the rocks, finally, the sun that had not been seen for a long time was frozen just now. His body gradually relaxed. Bai Qingqing came up with a Parker. Immediately stepped forward and asked if he had found it. Parker nodded confidently. That's nature. Then he pulled out the ice cubes from the animal skin bag. I showed it to Bai Qingqing. He said that when he went down, he found it cold. I deliberately searched for a circle. As a result, a large block of ice was found. There are also a lot of headrons. This stone is full of headrons. Then he threw the stone to the ground. One by one, the headrons rolled out of it. These are all found by Parker in this neighborhood. There's a lot more down there. When these headrons are revealed, and then turned around in fear and hugged her mother tightly. Bai Qingqing was born strong and comforted in Unin. Don't be afraid. There's a mom here. Thinking about Kim, it's exactly the same as Vincent picked it up. It is also 7 shiny and shiny headrons. Parker pulls one out and looks at the sun. Just feel in the sun. The headron doesn't have any sense of banking. It even glows with a rainbow of colors. Flickering and flickering. It's beautiful. Bai Qingqing stepped forward and took a closer look. Tell Parker, this astonishing light. It's just the refraction of the sun's rays. Parker didn't seem to understand it. He looked up again and leaned in to take a closer look. Bai Qingqing saw this. Hurriedly stretched out his hand to stop saying goodbye to his eyes. Be careful of being burned. Blue fires lit up all around the girl. In a short time, it burned to the ground. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stretched out her hand to stop saying goodbye to her eyes. Be careful of being burned. Parker listened. The headron was immediately removed. I'm confused. Does it really burn? Bai Qingqing saw that he was unlucky. He handed an end to Curtis. I'm going to demonstrate it for him. I saw him pick up a spar and face it to the sun. Focus on the back of Parker's hand. Ask him if he feels the heat. Parker nodded. It was really hot. Now I finally believe it. Thereupon, Parker was going to take 2 more goldstones to try, thinking about whether the 2 would be hotter when stacked. But when he picked up the golden stone, I saw him light a puff of blue smoke. The volume is gradually getting smaller, until it disappears. Parker saw this, immediately panicked, thinking I didn't do anything. Why is the spirit completely gone? I don't know why. Curtis and Parker. There's a feeling of sadness in my heart. I always feel like someone's death. I thought that if I was killed, the soul will turn into transparent crystals. Then this moment, it is the true death of this soul. Seeing that the 2 people around him fell into sadness, Bai Qingqing couldn't help but wonder, what's wrong with you 2? Blutton Parker whispered that he was dead. Bai Qingqing suddenly looked surprised. Look at the stone in your hand. I thought it was so hard in this life. Even stones can be broken. But it was sunburned. In modern times, ghosts can't see the light. Maybe the soul spar doesn't see the light of day. And Parker shines with a focused light. Allows the hedron to receive more light. We'll burn it. I saw Parker punch the ground hard. It's all my fault. Bai Qingqing stepped forward and touched his head. Comforting, it's not your fault. Then he changed the topic and asked, and the stone crack was lowered. An ice. Parker replied absent-mindedly. There's a big one. See divert topic invalid. Bai Qingqing had to sigh helplessly. Then something came to mind. He patted Parker and said excitedly, I'm in Chris's dream. I've seen this kind of ice cube too. Parker listened, but he didn't think so. Isn't this ice cube very common? Blood splattered. Bai Qingqing shook her head and said no. It was the hot season, and it's surrounded by desert. Parker was shocked. I wonder if someone is left in the calorimeter. Ice cubes were saved. Bai Qingqing's ship successfully changed the topic. Get up immediately, pretending to be mysterious. The bizarre landscapes of nature are always amazing. For example, a natural refrigerator or something. If only there were no such soul spirits, then we'll be able to get troops here. The girl was chased by a group of men and hid in a flower field. I thought it would be safe. Unexpectedly, Bai Qingqing couldn't help but sigh. If only there were no such soul spirits. Then we can come here to get the ice on the hot timer. Parker stepped forward and patted Qingqing on the shoulder. Said what kind of heat meter there is. When I came to pick up the poop. If you can't eat the ice in the cracks in the ground, I can bring water in. Bai Qingqing looked at the dark place. Hidden inside are countless souls. Come to think of this. He shuddered. I couldn't help but shiver all over. Immediately turned around and threw the ice cube to Parker. Forget it. The temperature at the bottom of the puddle was also chilly. To eat something iced, I'll just go find Lanzer. Parker was annoyed. I thought if I couldn't touch the ice beads. I really want to bring him back to the tribe. Bai Qingqing walked towards Anin. Reaching out and taking him into his arms, he said, let's go home. After a while, the group returned to the tribe. By this time, the duel in the tribe was over. Succeed? The males of the festival traveled to the female's house. Not selected. I started building my own house. As soon as the leopards saw their mother's back, one by one, they howled excitedly. Lunged at Mom. Bai Qingqing just wanted to tell them to slow down. He was thrown to the ground with a thud. But luckily, it didn't rain today. The land is dry. Bai Qingqing sat up, stroking the head of the tyrant. It's very intimate. Parker stepped forward and said, I took him back to sleep. You can play outside. I don't forget to tell you for a while. Be sure to come back for dinner later. Bai Qingqing nodded happily and understood. He turned to Curtis on the side. Do you want to go back? But I saw him staring in a certain direction. A look of reluctance. Bai Qingqing looked at him suspiciously. I saw a group of orcs who were not chosen. I'm talking around. The female line still wants to make a final struggle. Bai Qingqing suddenly understood. Lost a breath. Turning to Curtis, who was on the side, he said, "Okay, let's just go back together." Seeing Qingqing compromise, Curtis was a little unbearable, and he touched his cast. "Say yes, you can play casually in the tribe." I went back. As soon as I heard this, I saw that Qingqing was really happy. Said happily, "I'm not going to talk to any other male." It didn't take long after saying goodbye to Kitus. Then he saw a male orc coming forward behind him, waved his hand to Bai Qingqing and said, "Bai Qingqing, long time no see. I'll just pick some fresh fruit. Do you want to eat?" Seeing that, Bai Qingqing ignored him. Then he stepped forward and said that. "I knew there was a cool spot up ahead. Why don't we go for a walk together?" At this time, Bai Qingqing was distressed. I wondered what I could do. I'm really afraid of something. So he hugged the boy and ran forward, shouting loudly as he ran. I suddenly forgot that I hadn't taken something. "Go back first. Come with me, cubs." After that, he kept running without looking back. I ran like this for a long time. Finally came to a field of flowers. No males were seen. Bai Qingqing stopped, breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at the male orcs who were not chasing after him. I thought I could finally have fun now. The little princess with his 3 older brothers. We are playing happily in the flower field. Bai Qingqing looked behind her, seeing that the male orcs did not pursue. I thought I could finally have fun now. The leopards had already pounced on the flowers. It's a lot of fun. Bai Qingqing looked at the sea of morning glories all over the ground. I also think it's very beautiful. If you transplant some in your own yard, too. Morning glory. That should be a very nice picture. Come to think of this, he decided to take these morning glories, transplant a portion into the yard where the treasure has been lost. He looked up at him. A plump morning glory held out its hand to him. "It's up to you, but you're just about to pick it." But I heard a man behind me say, "Do you need me to help you?" Bai Qingqing looked back in surprise. "See people coming to Parker." Immediately said happily, "You've cooked the food so quickly." The man rolled his eyes. "I haven't opened my mouth yet. I think it's still early. I don't think I'll do anything again." Bai Qingqing looked up into the man's eyes. I wondered why Parker's eyes were a little dull. It's not as good as before. And his hairstyle has become normal. It's because of the long hair that was shaved off. Did it grow another layer? But the shape of the pot lid should also be there. And this is an ordinary leopard hairstyle. It always feels weird. Bai Qingqing suddenly thought of something. Hurriedly ducked back. Thought, could this man be Parker's brother? Parker's face didn't have his rank. The pendant on the chest is also missing. He looked at the 3 animal patterns on the man's face. I wonder if Parker said that. Is he the strongest in the copper nest? How did his brother become a Sarmon too? The man reacted when he saw this. Suddenly, I was at a loss. I wondered if I had been discovered all of a sudden. He turned away in shame and said, "Wait for me. Be right back." I saw him running to a large tree nest behind him. The man behind the tree glanced and ducked. Another man with short hair. I picked up a freshly picked morning glory. Smiling, he walked towards Bai Qingqing. Said, "I just saw a flower. It's nice to give it to you." Bai Qingqing clasped her hands on her shoulders. He turned around and refused. But suddenly I saw it in front of me. The beast pattern on the man's face. It seems to have faded. My hair was suddenly much shorter, and the hides he had just had were all tiger skins. How did it turn into a bearskin now? After hearing this, the man turned around in embarrassment and fled. Don't run away and say, "Wait a minute. I was mistaken." Have you ever seen 3 brothers fall in love with a woman at the same time? The ending was unexpected. The man fled in embarrassment. As he ran, he said, "Wait a minute. I was mistaken." He hurried behind the tree. Right now. A man also dodged and sat on the trunk of a tree, just about to say hello to Bai Qingqing. Blood soared. He covered his mouth and was holding back a laugh. Whereas, at this time, Bai Qingqing saw that there was another one on the tree. I just think it's so funny. I couldn't help but want to laugh out loud. In the end, I couldn't hold it back, so I simply couldn't bear it. Ha ha ha, laughed to the ground. So the man didn't have time to step forward, was ashamed of this merciless ridicule, and fled. Bai Qingqing lay in the flower field and laughed for a long time. I didn't expect them to look exactly the same. And the leopard on the side. The boys didn't understand what their mother was laughing at. They all threw puzzled glances at each other. It's been a long time. Bai Qingqing finally stopped laughing. He sat up and wiped away his tears. Shout! Come out. I've seen through it all, so I don't need to hide. 3 men after surgery. Only then did the concubine come out. They really look almost identical. But in the end, it was the males of Majeri. No, Parker matures. It's like when Parker was young. A man stepped forward and asked Qingqing suspiciously, "How did you recognize them?" I only heard Bai Qingqing answer with a smile. "As soon as you were the first to speak, I could hear the difference. You have a lot of similar voices, but the tone and attitude are different." I thought that Parker would not be respectful to himself, even if you want to help. It's also a dragging. See, Bai Qingqing know Parker so well. The 3 of them all showed envious expressions. It can be seen that Qingqing likes Parker very much. Bai Qingqing laughed twice in a slightly embarrassed way. "Say what you have to say. Come dig up some morning glories for me. But please let us know beforehand." I told my partner that I was okay. There will be no more companions. You are fellow Parker. We're relatives. You can walk around each other later. The man listened, said a little anxiously, "Don't you really think about us? We could do a lot of work. It's all Irwin beasts. I'm sure I'll be a salmon in the future." Bai Qingqing still politely refused, said that the tribe has a lot of females. With their abilities, they should be very popular. The 3 of them listened, suddenly showed a smug expression, and said, "Of course. This is exactly the same as the 7 Taoists and Parker." Then I heard the man go on and say, "But we like you. I like it in Wansho City. But Parker always stood in our way. We have never had a chance. Appears in front of you." Bai Qingqing was a little annoyed after hearing this. I thought to myself, though curiosity was satisfied, but it's not going to end well. But at this moment, I saw a dark shadow appear overhead. Everyone looked up. It was the agile and strong Parker who caught his eye. The 3 of them saw this. They were so frightened that they took a few steps back. He looked very nervous. Just hear Parker howl. Landed firmly on the ground. There was a murderous aura all over his body. Bai Qingqing witnessed the driving. It didn't feel good. Parker was really angry. It feels like something big is going to happen. This leopard is not ashamed. It turned out to be the girl's partner. The 2 were frolicking in a field of flowers. Just hear Parker howl. Landed firmly on the ground. There was a murderous aura all over his body. Powerful micropressure. The 3 leopards in front of them had to bend down, struggled to retreat. Parker pressed for it. Lung Lee's warning is not to let me see that there will be a next time. Otherwise, you will never be spared. Bai Qingqing was worried that they would fight. Hurriedly shouted at Parker, "Come down and help me." Parker listened, hurriedly turned around. A few steps came to Qingqing. Asked him if he's okay. I don't know if his compatriots have deceived Qingqing. Did you do anything excessive to him? I didn't forget to show off carefully beside Qingqing. Bai Qingqing glared at him, dissatisfied. I can't even recognize you. Then we've spent all these years in vain. Hurry up and help me dig morning glories. I want to plant them in the yard. Parker breathed a sigh of relief. Happily rubbed his cheeks. Didn't smell anything else. The mood immediately became happy. I was busy digging morning glories on the side. Bai Qingqing was shaved with mud on his face. Hurriedly spit out a few mouthfuls. Birth reminds you to be careful. Don't get him bad. Parker is like a puppy. Stepped forward and licked Qingqing's cheek. He stopped when he saw that there was no more dirt on his face. I promise that I will be careful with my digging. Then he called the cubs. Come to a place farther away from Qingqing. Dig up together. Bai Qingqing touched her wet face. I wonder how I feel like I'm being licked by a dog. Jinzai, let's hold the morning glory we dug up one by one. Bai Qingqing gently touched their heads. Said the boys were great. These morning glories are almost enough. Let's go home. So he wrote on Parker. Let's go to the castle together. After going home and planting morning glory, Curtis looked at the tired Qingqing, gently lulled him to sleep. But I saw Parker Town on the side. Don't know what I'm looking for. Curtis reminded unhappily to Hay. The dead leopard Xiao Bai just fell asleep. You give me a stop. But I saw Parker happy. Lai pulled out a mirror. Look left in the mirror. Look to the right and then say hey to Curtis. The snake beast shaved my hair. Today my compatriots pretend to be me to deceive Qingqing. Fortunately, Qingqing was not deceived by them. Curtis frowned in displeasure. There was a hint of anger in his eyes. He reached out and stroked Qingqing as she was sleeping. Parker saw that he didn't move for a long time. And then he said, my hair is going to grow. Soon it will become like them. Hurry up and help me shave off the excess hair. Curtis hesitated, still sticking out their sharp claws. Parker couldn't help but scratch his head when he saw this. I thought about the familiar feeling, though I had experienced it. But it's still a little scary. If there is such a beautiful snake demon sleeping beside him, will you be tempted? Curtis stretched out his sharp claws, started to send for Parkery. It's been a long time. Bai Qingqing yawned. Wake up slowly. When I turned my head, I saw Parker's bare neck. He asked Parker, confused, what's wrong with your hair? Parker immediately transforms into human form. Holding Qingqing, he said proudly, his hair is grown. I asked Curtis to help me shave it. Bai Qingqing was a little speechless after hearing this. I thought I would finally wait for Parker's hair to grow. Why did you kick it again? Turning to Curtis, he shouted to Curtis. He's messing around, and you're messing around. Curtis didn't explain. Resting on his own, Parker pointed to his hair. Tell Bai Qingqing to shave off, so that he is distinguished from his compatriots. It's even less likely to get it wrong. Bai Qingqing shook Parker vigorously after hearing this. Yell at you, idiot. I thought I had managed to fool Parker. It's coming to an end. Unexpectedly, it fell short. After the thought of Parker becoming a bestiality. The bare neck. I can't bear to look at it. He pointed to Parker to warn him. In the future, in the tribe, it is not allowed to turn into a leopard and run around. You know, Parker looked puzzled. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to explain angrily. Because you switch patterns back and forth. Clothes are easy to break. You can't wear it outside. Parker thought it was Qingqing. It's because I'm afraid that he will be placed on by other females. Immediately blushing and nodding in agreement. Parker was still smug on the sidelines. Bai Qingqing turned her head and saw Anin on the bed. He blinked at a pair of large Carslan eyes. Was looking at him with a fluttering fan. Bai Qingqing hurriedly stepped forward to pick up Anin. I didn't expect him to wake up. He didn't say a word. Thinking, Anin must not have recovered from the poison last time. Although the scorpion venom will be weaker and weaker each time. But Anin is so small. The heart is not strong enough. Bai Qingqing was still a little worried that he would suffer from it. Mental illness? I wish Vincent could come back sooner. And the nearest tribe. It's a lively scene every day. Males are subjected to fights between humans. It seems to have become the norm for the tribe during this time. Thinking about the last year, the tribe frantically increased the number of females. This year, The number of males has increased exponentially. It seems that the tribe is getting stronger step by step. And Parker, as soon as he has free time, he will go to work in the blacksmith room. I don't know how the work is going. Bai Qingqing took an in to visit the class. But as soon as I arrived at the door of the iron-making room, and was steaming with heat, it's so smoked that I can't open my eyes. He took a few steps back. Curious, his eyes widened, and he looked inside. I saw Parker dripping with sweat, stretching out all powerful arms, is tapping intently, iron plate in hand. Have you ever seen such a handsome blacksmith? He will soon put on the armor he has forged with his own hands. Parker stretched out his strong, powerful arms. He was tapping the iron plate in his hand with a focused face. Each hammer goes down. It's as if they weigh 1,000 pounds. In the face of such a muscular hunk, Bai Qingqing's eyes couldn't help but shine. My heart was pounding. Parker saw them coming. He turned his head and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Said Qingqing to Bai Qingqing with a smile. What are you doing here? It's too hot here. You are not fit to come here. Bai Qingqing's cheeks turned red. Turning his head sideways, he said that slightly embarrassed. I'm here to see your armor. Thereupon, Parker told Crystal to wait for her outside under the tree. The air in the ironworks was too muddy. Not good for the body. Bai Qingqing nodded in agreement, hugged an in, and ran out. They came to the iron smelter, under a big tree not far from the house. It does cool down a lot in the shade. And an in her arms was also dancing happily. After a while, Parker clattered on his armor, ran over with a bang. Bai Qingqing heard the sound, hurriedly looked back, tell Parker to slow down. He walked in front of Qingqing in a few steps. He put down the armor in his hand. This one still needs to be assembled. Bai Qingqing saw that he had worked for so long. I sweated a lot too. Reach for the glass of water next to you. Let Parker drink some water first. He wiped his sweat with animal skins. Parker was lonely. He drank the whole glass of water. He was anxious to show Qingqing the results of his forging. It didn't take long, and he put together the heavy armor. Parker immediately transforms into a beast form. With the armor on your body, after a domineering howl, ask Qingqing how her armor is. Bai Qingqing's eyes suddenly widened in surprise. I didn't expect Parker to be able to make such a complete outfit. Prepare all the key points that are vulnerable to attack. They were all covered with iron pieces of armor and protected. Even the tail is covered with a layer of iron. It's really all round. See Parker raise his paw again. As soon as he pressed the mechanism, sharp claws stretched out. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but exclaim. Even an in his arms was dumbfounded. Seeing this, Bai Qingqing teased, haha. Even an doesn't know you anymore. Then everyone burst into laughter. This group of people are competing for the beloved woman. Duels are being fought against each other. An hour ago, the family was talking and laughing in the shade of the trees. The atmosphere was very pleasant. Bai Qingqing suddenly thought of something again. That's right. Is it convenient for you to wear armor? Will it not be inflexible? Parker jerked to his feet. I heard some movement in the woods behind me. He looked warily in the direction of the sound. Then there was a loud yell. Bai Qingqing followed his gaze. I saw a big tree not far away. A leopard walked out slowly. It's Parker's compatriot. The three leopards were discussing at this time. Now that the tracking has been discovered, then why don't you go down and fight? The armor on his body didn't look like that. So saying, the three of them jumped under the tree together. Make a picture of a state of readiness. Bai Qingqing saw this posture, hurriedly hugged an in and hid behind a tree. I thought to myself what they were going to do. Is it going to be a fight? Parker is a salmon, and they're all two-dimensional beasts. And it didn't take long to upgrade. Certainly not Parker's opponent. But it's really hard to guess which of the three fights and one will win or lose. Parker was undaunted. I saw him stretch out the sharp blade of his claws. The hind leg kicked violently. Then he pounced on the three beasts. There was an earth-shattering roar. The momentum is so stubborn. With one move, he knocked a leopard in front of him to the ground. Seeing this, the other two leopards pounced together, crushed Parker underneath him. He raised his mouth and bit down on him. Parker jerked his head to his feet, broke free of the two leopards on his body. The leopards were not reconciled either. Immediately stretched out the sharp claws. Rap at Parker. But I only heard a few clicks. All of them were beaten down by thick iron plates. I saw Parker leap over. He kicked the two beasts several meters away, hit the ground hard. Parker turned his head and poured out disdainfully. Bai Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there is armor for protection. Otherwise, if Parker is pounced on by the other party, I'm going to have to get a little scratched. At this time, I heard the sound of a fight. The surrounding orcs also gathered to watch. Gradually, there were more and more onlookers. Even the hugs rushed over like a lively one. Gradually, it was the parents. They immediately sensibly protected Bai Qingqing's side. Be vigilant against these four types. And was a little afraid of such a scene. Turned his head and hid in his mother's arms. Bai Qingqing comforted Anin. I wondered when it would end. The woman is looking at her, looking forward to the triumphant return of the partner. Just as Bai Qingqing was worried, I don't know when the battle will end. I saw that the fighting on the battlefield became more and more intense. Parker has the upper hand, beat all three leopards to scars, collapsed to the ground. It's hard to get up again. I just heard Parker shout loudly that you lost. Let's stop talking. With that, he got up and left. Bai Qingqing also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. See Parker win. I thought that there was finally a truce. That's great. And the role of this set of armor made by Parker. It has also been released. Weight has little effect on sensitivity. However, it can effectively defend against opponents' attacks. With this layer of armor, it is completely possible to go on a rampage with impunity. It's not bad to use the boar battle mode. He also headed for Parker, who returned victoriously, stretched out his chubby little hand. At this time, the three leopards behind him also gradually climbed up. They looked at each other. Then he nodded in agreement. Bai Qingqing also saw the actions of the three leopards. I feel a little puzzled, but I saw that the three leopards suddenly tried their best. He lunged at Parker again. See that Parker has not yet reacted. Bai Qingqing immediately nervously reminded Parker loudly. Watch your back. At this critical moment, I saw a dodge from Parkleman. Generosity avoided the other party's claws. The three leopards were also stunned. I didn't expect Parker's skills to be so agile. Bai Qingqing comforted Anin in her arms. A look of concern was revealed. I thought to myself, isn't this a friendly exchange? Why continue to attack when the fighting is stopped? But I heard the orcs talking on the side. It seems that this situation is really fighting. Look like this. It should be the new leopards, determined to snatch Bai Qingqing. Bai Qingqing lowered her head reproachfully after hearing this. I wonder if it's because of myself. No, we can't let them fight like this anymore. It will hurt. I saw Parker subduing a leopard. Then he opened his bloody mouth. He took a sharp bite and bit downward. All I heard was a scream. The other leopards also pounced, biting Parker's iron plate. Almost all of their teeth are about to be broken. There was a muffled snort. Beasts on the side. People were nervous and excited about it. There is speculation about which side will win, although Parker's strength is the strongest. But the persistence is consumed by the three-headed weight loss. The siege physical strength can't keep up. He must have been the one who lost. And another person thinks otherwise. He looked at Bai Qingqing. The orcs in front of them are fighting for their lives. The ending is either to win. Either the other dies and doesn't think so. He looked at Bai Qingqing, said that we are all from Wanshou City. There's a rule there if pursuing a sibling partner. After defeating your compatriot, you have to accept the victor's pursuit of your partner. So Parker will most likely kill them. It can also be said that these 3 leopards should be beautiful. Either die. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat after hearing this. I thought that Wanshou City still had such strange customs. No wonder these 3. The leopards suddenly seemed to be a beast. Bai Qingqing looked at the 4 people who were fighting for their lives in front of them, thinking about whether you win or lose in the end. In the end, as long as you don't accept it, you can do it. Thinking about it, after all, it's with Parker, brothers who have been together for more than 10 years. He believed that Parker would not recognize his compatriots. I also believe that they must have a heart-to-heart connection. So no more worrying about it. Waiting for the fight to end with peace of mind. When after a few rounds, Parker also looked a little exhausted. At this time, a leopard came from again. The flank went to Parker. I saw Parker turn around. The 2 hind legs kicked at each other fiercely. After another fierce fight, Parker knew he couldn't go on like this, so he suddenly sped up. A final general assault was launched on the 3 leopards. I saw him to the side. The 2 leopards, who were still slumped to the ground, quickly pounced. The leopard behind him didn't see well, just wanted to remind the blood sword. Parker leaped several meters high. Sharp claws stretched out, pounced on a leopard in front of him. The sharp claws cut blood marks on his back. Immediately after that, the right arrow Parker subdued him. Another bite on his neck, above the terrier. The leopard behind him saw the situation and felt bad. You have to evacuate first. If all 3 of them are defeated at the same time, it will be thorough. If you lose at the bottom, you will no longer be able to pursue Bai Qingqing. So, just as they were about to evacuate, I saw Parker's light flash with a fierce force. As soon as you turn your head, you will. A leopard in the mouth. It threw itself at the 2 beasts that were about to flee. At this time, it was too late to cultivate it. The scene in front of me, I just saw that everyone in the audience was terrified. This is the happiest girl I've ever seen. She had 3 powerful fathers, and the most beautiful mother in the world. His father turned his head, then put the leopard in the mouth. It threw itself at the 2 beasts that were about to flee. After another fierce fight, Parker managed to knock all 3 leopards unconscious. There is no way to fight back on the ground. He roared in anger. Successfully ended the battle. The orcs on the lookers also cheered. The leopard cubs were even more excited to see their father win. Happily ran towards his father. Bai Qingqing was excited with tears in her eyes. He also ran towards Parker. He knew Parker could do it. I saw Parker lying on the ground complaining that I was exhausted. But their faces were also full of joy. The family talked and laughed like this. After a while, the 3 leopards also gradually woke up, licking and wiping the wounds on his body. Bai Qingqing turned her head and saw that they were awake. Ask aloud if you're all right. A leopard replied, they don't have to worry about their lives. With their male physique, it will be healed in a few days. They will also fulfill the regulations. I won't come to pester Bai Qingqing again in the future. Bai Qingqing listened. The filial piety with an excited face is too good. You finally figured it out. Parker also looked up and licked Qingqing's cheek and said, finally held on again. Bai Qingqing's cheeks flushed slightly after hearing this. I thought to myself that he was really a stupid leopard. 3 leopards behind him. It was so happy to see them. Then they realized that their actions were annoying to them. They are with Parker-style compatriots. Feelings can affect each other. It is precisely because Parker loves Bai Qingqing very much. His feelings for Bai Qingqing are too strong. That's why his compatriots can't control it. Bai Qingqing was stunned when she heard this. I didn't expect it to be like this. He reached out and stroked Parker's head. Very. I'm glad to have met a partner who loves me so much. I only heard the three leopards continue to say to Bai Qingqing, although it has caused you trouble. But don't worry. Wait until we are doomed. This induction will be broken. There are a lot of females in the tribe. We should be able to solve it quickly. Bai Qingqing smiled. That's fine. Wait until you have been robbed again. We can also go to relatives. When the three leopards heard this, they were dumbfounded. A greeting on the face. Bai Qingqing was amused by their appearance. Poof, laughing. I wonder how they are like my leopards. Silly and silly. He explained aloud. Relatives. It means eating together on a happy occasion. The mermaid blew a bubble. Pretending to be a beloved girl, she came to the bottom of the water. Bai Qingqing explained to them what it meant to go to relatives. Three leopards are now bright birds. Then he said goodbye to them and left. Parker also stood up. It seems that the vitality has recovered a lot. But right now, I saw several wolf beasts coming out of the grass. Tilt your head and laugh. I also want to challenge Parker in doing things. Parker didn't show any weakness either. A sharp momentum erupted all over his body, came forward and yelled. Bai Qingqing saw this posture, hurriedly hugged an in and ran away. It's too bloody to think about it. You have to take an out to breathe. They ran and ran to the puddle. The water surface of the summer day is shining with a sparkling light. Bai Qingqing placed it in the grass pile next to her. Tell him to wait here. Go and clean the dust off your face first. He came to the puddle. Pick up the cool water and float it on your face. There was a chill. In this hot summer day, I suddenly felt a lot more refreshed. But I didn't notice. Silence behind you. Accidentally rolled off the haystack. But the good thing is that there is soft grass all around. And there was no harm. On the contrary, he climbed up excitedly. It didn't take long to climb to the puddle. Bai Qingqing only cared about closing her eyes and washing her face. Didn't notice Anne's arrival. And then also followed her mother's example. Reached out and shaved peanuts in the water. Attracted by Qingqing's attention. That's when he opened his eyes. I looked to the side. But I was surprised to find out. Quietly turned over and turned into the tide. Bai Qingqing exclaimed in fright. But at this time, I saw a pair of blue palms rising from the water. Picked in and up from the water. And it was already so frightened that she closed her eyes. But I didn't feel it for a long time when I fell into the water. Only then did he open his big watery eyes. What catches your eye? He was a handsome and extraordinary man. An's wet eyes glowed, reaching out and grabbing the shell pendant on the man's chest. Lanze hugged An in front of Qingqing. Bai Qingqing breathed a sigh of relief. It scared the hell out of him just now. I didn't expect Jing to crawl over on her own. Orchid. Zay is looking at the villain in his arms with a full face. Reached out and poked his chubby little face. Some don't open their eyes. Bai Qingqing saw this. He opened the man's hand and said, "Don't poke him in the face. It's going to be drooling." The words are not finished yet. Saw that and was really drooling. Bai Qingqing was embarrassed and hurriedly asked Lanze to wash first. Lanze put on a white head and said, "Filial piety, haha. It's okay. I said I'll take it down to play. Are you coming now?" Bai Qingqing hesitated. I was sweating all over my body when I thought about it. It's sticky and greasy, and it's very uncomfortable. Washing is good too. So he nodded in agreement. I saw Lanze blow out a big bubble. Put Bai Qingqing and into it. Holding the bubbles, he steadily swam towards the bottom of the puddle. Go! And it was very curious and lay on the bubbles. Look at the novelty around you. Bai Qingqing was rarely so happy to see An. I couldn't help but smile. I thought about this time. It's sure to be an amazing journey to remember. The girl was taken underwater by the mermaid prince. The man blows a bubble. pretending to be Bai Qingqing and Anin to play underwater. After 10 minutes, Anin was tired and resting on her mother's lap. Bai Qingqing got tired of playing so quickly when she saw him. I heard Lan Zhe step forward and say again, "And it should like the little white bait." Or, I put it in a small individual bubble, then put some small white bait in it. Let Anin play with the little silverfish. You say it's good or not? Bai Qingqing thought for a moment. I decided to give it a try. Let Anin stay alone first. See if he's afraid. Lan Zhe nodded in agreement. So he let go of the hand holding the big bubble, turned around, and blew a slightly smaller bubble. The big bubble was after he let go. It gradually sank downward, and then raised her eyes to look at the light that was getting farther and farther away. His eyes widened in horror. Bai Qingqing saw him like this, and then asked worriedly, "What happened to you?" I saw, and Anne's whole body began to tremble. Tears welled up in his eyes, whimpering and crying. Bai Qingqing hurriedly waved her hand and shouted at Lan Zhe, "Take us up," and then seems to be very afraid of the dark. Lan Zhe saw this, quickly swam to them, hold up the bubbles and swim quickly towards the water, and then snuggled tightly in her mother's arms. I still couldn't help but tremble. Whimpered quietly. He curled up in a ball. It was as if I had been greatly frightened. Bai Qingqing reached out to wipe the tears from the corners of his eyes, comforted Anin softly, not crying. "We don't go to dark places anymore. Don't be afraid," and order Lan Zhe on the side again. "Take them to a bright place. Don't go any further." Lanzer dragged them to the surface. "Tell Qingqing to wait here for a while. You want to fetch something? We'll be back soon." With that, he plunged headlong into the water, and then came to the back of the water. Only then did he stop crying. But I was still nervous and a little trembling. After a while, Lan Zhe came out of the water. He also holds a small bubble in his hand. The bubbles are full of tiny white bait. Thinking that Anin likes light, Lanzer also put his own light bead into the bubble, given into play, and then saw this shiny little fish bubble pounce on it immediately. He stared at them. Lan Zhe saw that he liked it so much. He smiled dotingly, placing it into a small bubble. He put the little bubble in the small silver filled with it, fish in large bubbles, and it immediately blossomed, happy hand dancing. The mermaid lay on the shore and looked at the woman she loved. "Ask for it, but you can't get it." Lan Zhe putting it into the white bait bubble. I saw a small silverfish with a shining quality swim past his eyes, and Anne's oily eyes lit up. Then I saw a bright bead of light on the side. I couldn't take my eyes off it, staring straight at the beads of light. "I love it." Seeing this, Lan Zhe picked up the light bead and asked, "Do you like it?" Seeing an in, he immediately rolled the bubbles and stepped forward, holding out his little hand towards the light bead. Lan Zhe put the light bead into the bubble. It was handed to Anan's hands. Unexpectedly, he quietly put it in his mouth. Favorite kin shakes up. See this scene? Lan Zhe couldn't help but scream. "But my beads are for my companion," Bai Qingqing said apologetically on the side. "I'm so sorry. I'll wash you later." "Do not worry. Seeing him like it so much." Bai Qingqing coughed embarrassedly. "That's what I'm good at. I'm afraid I won't return it to you when Huinan is safe." Lan Zhe suddenly became a little anxious after hearing this. "But look at the slimy bead of light in front of you." I couldn't help but sigh. Said that love shouldn't coax and in with light beads. Now it's all right. Partners are not yet married. I lost the orb first. Bai Qingqing saw him like this. I couldn't help but laugh. Said I won't wear your light beads. At most, let him take it back first. I'll bring it to you when he's asleep. Lan Zhe had no choice but to nod and agree. I wanted it to be lighter, but then it occurred to him that he didn't understand it. I had no choice but to forget it. Bai Qingqing looked at the hot sun. Thinking about myself was sweating all over. So he asked Lanze to let him out and wash his body. Lanze wanted to push him to the shore and release him again. Bai Qingqing waved her hand. Just say it's okay to break it on the surface of the water. You can swim on your own. I heard Qingqing say that she can swim. Lanze had a skeptical expression. Bai Qingqing raised her face and said, "Don't underestimate me. I'm a good swimmer." So Lanze raised his hand to pop the bubble. I just heard a bang. Bai Qingqing opened her arms and walked towards the moon in the water. There was a big splash of water. Lanze jokingly said to an "Haha, your mom doesn't want you anymore. Gave you to me." I saw Anin turn his head angrily. Ignore him at all. Lanze couldn't help but be filial. I didn't expect the villain who couldn't speak yet. Still have a temper. Zay knew how to put on a shelf at such a young age. It's amazing to grow up. I saw Bai Qingqing wave at him again. Ask Lanze to release the little silverfish. Clean up for yourself too. So Lanze swam to the bottom of the water. A lot of small whitebait were released. They happily swam towards Bai Qingqing. Cleaned up for him. Before I knew it, I was dumbfounded. Bai Qingqing floated comfortably on the water. He hadn't swam like this in a long time. After playing for a long time, I found that Lanzijing was still underwater. Hurriedly turned around in embarrassment and yelled at Lanze. "You won't come up for me." After hearing this, Lanze hurriedly came to Qingqing's side. Seeing that he was angry, I thought I was just watching it for a while. And there are clothes in the skirt. All you can see is a pair of beautiful legs. But why did I feel weak when I was discovered? He buried his face in the water in embarrassment, grunting and spitting bubbles. Bai Qingqing said to Anin on the side again. We went home. He carried Anin to the shore, but Anin returned the light bead to Lanze. Saw Anin pouting, showed a look of resolute disagreement. Bai Qingqing had no choice but to say to Lanze, "I'll return it to him later." At this time, Lanze's cheeks were still slightly red. He nodded obediently, looking at their figures as they drifted away. But there is a little loss in my heart. If the basilismos all look like this, are you still afraid of snakes? Lanze looked at their figures as they drifted away. It's inevitable that there will be some loss in my heart. It didn't take long. Bai Qingqing returned to the lost treasure. Anin, who had been playing for a day, soon fell asleep. Only then did Bai Qingqing stretch out her hand, took away the slimy beads of light. I really had to wash it clean. I'll pay it back. Not for a while. I saw Parker come back in the dust. As soon as he got home, he dragged the armor on his body. After the drag, he fell asleep. I only saw Bai Qingqing stunned. But look at the dirt all over him. There was also a stench. Bai Qingqing stepped forward and persuaded him to take a bath before sleeping. Parker was tired and coquettish. I want to wash it later. The smell is getting louder and louder. Bai Qingqing was worried that he would wake Anin up. He straightened Parker's tail. Tell him to wash it right away. And don't forget to slip on your fur skirt. Parker scratched his head aggrievedly. Nodding in agreement, Bai Qingqing handed the washed light bead to Parker again. Tell him to return the light bead to Lanze along the way. After Parker took the light orb, tired and walked out the door. Look at his back. Bai Qingqing couldn't help but laugh shamefully. It's really tired of being a dog. Buddha. He turned to Curtis in the room and said, Curtis, the people of the tribe are building armor for themselves. Why don't you try? Curtis shook his head, claims to have scales on his body. Bai Qingqing suddenly realized. I almost forgot. Curtis's scales are sharper than an iron blade. The tenacity should not be low. He looked at the snake's legs. Shovel's sister said, the scaly Mr. Snake. Can you make another dress for it? He picked up the snake leg on the side. With an excited face, he handed it to Curtis. Curtis was unmoved. because an already has 2 sets of clothes to wash. Bai Qingqing continued to say coquettishly, "This snake leg is too thin. Not for me to wear. Just help me guess." Curtis looked at Anin, who was sleeping soundly. "I thought that the snake retreat was all for my partner. Can it be used for cubs? Although Anin is a female cub." Finally he sighed, nodding in agreement. "Call this the last one." So he took up the serpent and withdrew. "Seriously can't sew it up." The woman misses her partner, looking at the night sky and crying silently. Kitties is making new clothes for Anin. It didn't take long. Anin gradually woke up. However, the first thing to wake up to, it's rummaging around for your own light beads. Bai Qingqing saw this. I thought it was bad. He wouldn't be thinking about that big pearl of light. From the cabinet behind him, fetched the small light bead that Lan Zhe gave him, handed to Anin to play, and then looked at the ordinary bead in his hand, showed a look of disgust. He threw him away. Then he began to rummage hard in bed. The Bai Qingqing sword was seen through by him. Thinking about finding things on your own at such a young age. I don't ask adults to help. It's too self-reliant. It feels like something is wrong. It can't be autism. Although, and beat from in the stomach. It's quiet. After birth, he does not cry or make trouble. There is no need for anything. I didn't find anything out of the ordinary. Seeing that he searched for a long time, he did not find the light bead. Sat on the bed and hummed unhappily. Gradually, night fell. Bai Qingqing once again raised the wooden stick towards the small bead of light. Handed it to Anin. Against the backdrop of the night, he shone with a little light, and then saw the light as soon as he saw it. Immediately, his eyes widened. Affectionate stretched out his hand to him. Bai Qingqing saw that he loved it so much. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. It turned out that it was just not bright enough. It's okay, it's okay. Think about this teething stick that once belonged to the leopards. Just send it to Anin. Over time, the night was getting darker. A bright moon hangs high in the night sky. Today is another full moon night. Bai Qingqing looked at the sky. Tell Parker to take the food away. I can't eat it myself. Parker touched Qingqing's head in distress. I had to wait until he was hungry to warm up the food for him. On this difficult day, there is no way for anyone to eat a meal in peace. But when he turned his head, I found that Qingqing was gone. And at this time, Bai Qingqing is holding it on the roof in a daze. He thought, it's been more than a month since Levinson went out. The tribe has also reached the size of 2,000 males. Everywhere there was hope and laughter. It started to be lively. Vincent, though it's your wish, it is being realized gradually. But I can't make you happy. Tonight, and I had to think of this again. Tears can't stop sliding down. It dripped onto An's cheek with a click. Be wary of the woman you love. What an experience. And it is going to be poisoned again tonight. Bai Qingqing thought of this. Tears can't stop falling. Seeing in Anne's little face, he frowned. Bai Qingqing was busy shaking and coaxing her. Pretended to be happy and said, what's wrong with Anin? Anin has teeth. The front teeth are so beautiful. And Anne's mood finally eased a lot. He stretched out his chubby little hand. I want to wipe the tears from the corners of my mother's eyes. Bai Qingqing hurriedly passed away with tears in her eyes and smiled ha-ha. I don't cry. But looking at Anne's so well-behaved and sensible appearance, Bai Qingqing was very distressed. At this time, a fiery body was pasted on. Parker wrapped himself around Bai Qingqing. Whisper, don't be upset. Bai Qingqing often exhaled. Vincent has been out for a month. It stands to reason that he should have come back a long time ago. And today is a special day. If he can come back, he will definitely come back. Bai Qingqing was very worried. Parker glanced at Qingqing's arm. Clear tiger stripes. Said that the beast text is still there. Don't worry. Bai Qingqing shook her head. We should have gone with him. Blood listened to the priest twice. At some point, Curtis also went up to the top floor. Here, Bai Qingqing's words, the momentum cooled down. He said, "It's dangerous if you go." Bai Qingqing was a little frightened when she saw this momentum. But when I think of an in, he firmly said that as long as he could cure an in, no matter how dangerous it is, I'm not afraid. Curtis's pupils narrowed. At this time, he was looking at an in. Suddenly, I felt unusually unsightly. And it also seemed to sense the danger. Shrunk back and hid in her mother's arms. Bai Qingqing lay in tightly. Vigilantly asked what you want to do. Parker also stood in front of Qingqing. The highest alert was raised. Legs slightly bent, always ready to bounce up. Curtis looked at the few people who were so wary of him. My heart couldn't help but hurt a little. I just want you to be good. After saying this, he silently turned away. Bai Qingqing thought about it. Curtis's attitude towards an unjust now. Degrees so indifferent. He took Parker's hand and said, "Parker, be sure to help me." Parker nodded firmly. "I'll do whatever you want me to do." Bai Qingqing leaned against Parker's chest. "Say thank you gratefully." The two snuggled up quietly like this. One stop is half a day. The eyes of the cold snake king were full of the girl in front of him. There is no room for him to slip up. Little by little, time passed. Bai Qingqing handed the small light bead to an in. It turned out that an in regarded light as hope. If you think it's dawn, you won't be in pain. He took an in into his arms. Gently soothed. The toxicity is about to kick in. Bai Qingqing suddenly had an idea. Thinking about this poison maybe, and the sea-tide beast. The gravitational pull of the moon is on a similar principle. But a shorter place may be good for an in. Come to think of this. He quickly hugged an in and ran downstairs. At this time, an in also happened to have a seizure. Wow! He burst into tears. Parker was worried that Qingqing would fall if she ran too quickly. Seeing an in struggling in pain, Bai Qingqing turned her head and shouted Parker. An An's strength was too great. You help me get him under control. I'm going to dig out all the beads. With that, he rushed to the cabinet. Rummaging around. After rummaging for a long time, he found out that Curtis was also in the house. Bai Qingqing saw Curtis. Suddenly I panicked. An An's cry was sharp and piercing. He was afraid that Curtis would be impatient. Solve An's problem now. Come to think of this. He immediately pounced. Said Curtis by the neck around Curtis. Please don't hurt an in, okay? Curtis saw the tears in his eyes. The tone was also a little softer. Said before he hurt you. I won't hurt him. Bai Qingqing thought to herself. Doesn't that mean that? If you insist on taking an into the desert to find it, Vincent Curtis, and it will not be tolerated. He sighed bitterly. Forced back the sourness in his eyes. Whisper hard, yes. I'm not going to let myself have anything to do. Bai Qingqing, just stabilize Curtis first. Let him just sit and wait for him to die.